Shady Sportsman. We're back here for another episode of the staple indoor football show around the indoor football world. I'm joined by my boy Cody, TJ, and Coach B. And yeah, we just want to kick it off. We'll start with the American Indoor Football League. Coach B, I know you recently took a position with the Odessa Drillers down there in Odessa. So talk to us about what's going on in that league.
Uh, just from my understanding, they trying to rebrand. It's their 20th year anniversary. I didn't even know that, so that's something special, I guess. I like what they doing as far as holding everybody accountable. And that was a preseason last week for all teams, so I know I saw a lot of people like, why they playing these semi-pro teams? Well, normally for a preseason game, every team plays a semi-pro team. That's nothing new. That's just how it goes. You get tuned up, you get to make cuts, see what you got, then go into your regular season. But it's also a way for you to get to run game day production and try to see what works and what don't work if you're a new franchise and things like that. So I think they did pretty decent. It was some flaws, but it can be fixed. I do want to say congrats to Coach Foster for being the commissioner and upholding some standards. He held North Michigan to accountability. He gave them a week to get their things together. They couldn't get it together, and he did what he needed to do for the league. Do I think it was something right? I think no, but it's something he had to do. Uh, and that's just how it goes. AIF, it might not be idea. I know everybody thinks Don Montero and them owns the league. They do not own the league. They're not the owners of the AIF. Don Montero is a owner of the North Michigan Muskies and the Wyoming Cavalry, and he's a general manager player. He has no ties in the league at all. So a lot of people be thinking that, and he's not a part of the front office anymore. Whatever he had going on a long time ago is not now. What's today ain't yesterday. So I think they're moving in the right direction. Is it gonna be perfect? No. When you're trying to fix things and change a lead that's been tarnished for almost 10 years, it's gonna take time to rebrand. I think they doing it right by doing the 20th year anniversary and holding each team to certain standards and accountability.
Can you just explain to us the difference between an independent AIF team and a normal AIF team? If
Well,
you
we're Odessa. We independent. We're not officially a part of the AIF. We just play a AIF schedule. We are an independent team. We not affiliated with no league, and that happened because we were trying to get in the league and just it's a little bit different situation with Odessa than other places. Our hockey team owns the arena, not the city or the state owns the arena. The hockey team does, so they get first rights and they get to pick what dates they got, and so we got to go off of them. So we couldn't get into the AF1, which they were supposed to be in this year, because of our hockey team and the dates. Other than that, we play an independent schedule. Just fill out the. We got 8 home games, so we'll be at Ector Coliseum most of the season. 2 away games. We play a game in Big Springs, Texas. I know they done that before. Pretty good. Almost sold out right now. That'll be on April 18th, a scrimmage game. So I like what they're doing with that, and just something different. As an independent, we move at our own beat. We are our own entity, and we just play AIF affiliate teams.
So, you guys in Odessa kind of have signed a couple, name players, Carlos Thompson from Last Chance U. You got Jordan Seaman. You got a couple other guys coming in. When you look at your roster kind of from start to finish, where would you kind of position it up against other rosters you kind of built in the past, you would say?
Uh, I actually like this roster. Honestly, almost the same as me building my Iowa Rampage roster. It's way better than my Wichita and my Iowa Power roster. This is more so you seeing Coach B's true identity. No matter what lead or affiliated I'm with, you can get it's about the coach. The players come and play for the coach and what you bring to the table. And they know if you're gonna keep it transparent and be real and develop them and give them all they got, any player come and play with you anywhere you at. It don't matter what league, what level, or none of that. It's about you and the relationships you build with those players. This roster I got right here is built it's showing my identity. I call it the purge season. It's my our revenge tour. Some guys that been out for a while that y'all forgot about or y'all thought wasn't good enough. I want those guys. I want a lot of younger guys. I can develop them. and I put good core mix of veterans with them, and I think we fare right. I look at my roster right now as a mini IFL roster.
And then, kind of my final question before I turn it over to Cody and TJ, I think when you look at these AIF teams, right, you see last week in Wyoming, they had the Arizona Rattlers, Ed Zone, Orlando Predators, logo, they had everything. How do teams go and acquire older, turfs and logos and such?
I see it do. Every league does it. Some leagues just have time to get their fields painted and stuff like that. Do not take heed. Wyoming Cavalry was fined for the NAL logo and for the end zones like that. So the league did fine them for that. Even Don Montero, he suspended 2 games for fighting and getting ejected. So the league is upholding standards, and it wasn't approved for that. So I think you sometimes when you start a new franchise, you got to fill out the kinks. Like I said, go with what you got. He probably didn't have time to get the field painted, but it does take a simple cover up of the banners. You can put an AIF banner over the NAL banner. There's certain things you can do different, but that comes along with when you owning a franchise and you got to do things right. Some things you might miss out on. Some things you might be more important worried about players' housing and things like that, and you wasn't worried about the field. But every aspect goes into it. So you just got to give owners time to get things together. Give them a probationary period, I think, and if they don't follow through, then hey, it's time to move in a different direction.
TJ, what are your thoughts on the American Indoor Football League?
Well, I mean, preseason games, like Coach B touched on before, their games purpose they're basically tune-up games, so they're meant to be against semi-pro teams, things like that. So I think we have to give it a little bit more of a chance this season for the regular season to start. As far as the field goes, again, yeah, reusing old turf and logos and stuff like that coming through. I mean, that's been a known thing in a lot of different leagues. I mean, there was 1 or 2 teams in the AF1 last year that throughout the game, the midfield banner got torn a little bit. And you could see the NAL logo coming through it. So, I mean, it's not AIF specific. It happens everywhere. I do like that they are holding people accountable, getting Dom Montero for 2 games for fighting at the end of a preseason game that, quite frankly, he shouldn't have really been fighting in because they were winning by like 50. So, I mean, what's the point? So hopefully it's a lesson learned for him. And hey, man, the AIF is going to hold standards that they're maybe a turning point for them finally. And I'm honestly going to give them a chance this season just because of the new standards that they clearly do have now moving forward.
What about you, Cody?
Well, first of all, I do want to address some of the comments that we have right now. Apparently, some people are having connection issues. So, for me personally, I'm seeing and hearing and everyone just fine. I hope you guys are too. We apologize for any technical difficulties if you guys are having trouble seeing or hearing us or things like that. So, that might just be StreamYard. It might not be. We'll kind of cross that when we get there. But yeah, we do apologize for any sort of connection issues with, Caleb and Scott commenting on that. One thing I do want to address and ask Coach B here is one of the comments that we have is Caleb asking, as an independent with Odessa, you will still be playing against the same AIF teams, which I think you already addressed, as in you've got a full
Right.
AIF schedule.
Yeah, we got not a full AIF schedule. We play some AIF teams and then we play some other independent teams. So it's not a full AIF schedule. We just mix some AIF teams in there to give it a good look and just help out the lead as far as us being an independent and build up that lead. So
Right.
it's
So
really a tune-up season for us.
Right. So how does that work? What teams are fully in the AIF that can compete for the championship? Can you compete for the championship, or since you're an independent, you don't have a chance?
I actually can. So
can?
me and
Okay.
me and Midland can compete for a championship because we still consider the South Division of the
Gotcha.
AIF, and where Dom and all those guys are is the North Division.
Mhm.
So we'll play the winner of the North Division at the end of the year, at the end of our season.
I gotcha. Okay. I mean, it's still confusing. It's clear as mud, but I mean, it makes sense, but it also doesn't. So I'm sure you guys have it on good authority of what you guys can and can't do when it comes to playoffs, championships, and everything like that.
It really won't be no playoffs this year. Just whoever got the best records in each division just play for an outright championship.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Before we're joined by our next co-host, I kind of just I want to give my thoughts. I think the American Indoor Football League it's a platform. At the same time, I think on the outside looking in, it looks a little unprofessional to me. I think they need to do some housekeeping, just like Coach B stated and Cody stated too. Like, I feel like, you're all eyes are on you with starting so early, right? It's the only game going on. So you have to make an extra effort to try to, position yourself in the most professional manner possible. And we didn't see that last week in Cedar Rapids, right? The stream was awful. You couldn't get on the YouTube. The live was freezing, all this stuff. And, they sit there in Cedar Rapids and talk about how they're doing all this great stuff, but I don't really see it. So I feel like the standard across the board needs to be a little more professional.
I'll correct you on that. The production was off, but everything else they doing there is totally different than what Dom and previous owners did in Cedar Rapids. I love what Krantz and them doing over there. Honestly, he's holding them players accountable. He made them gentlemen come in suits. They wore suits pregame. They did a fan club thing before the game, something that's never been done in Cedar Rapids. And I played in Cedar Rapids before, and the community is actually supporting them more than I've ever seen Cedar Rapids community support them. So it's gonna take time too. When you have a slum owner, 2 years previous before you, the past 2 years, it's kind of, you got to build up. Just like in Odessa, I've had teams that burnt Odessa market. So getting down there, it's not easy getting sponsors, but you got to show them that you're gonna be there and that you're gonna support that city for you to even get their trust. So arena football as a whole, I think we need to do better. Stop blaming other leagues or stop dogging on other leagues, because at the end of the day, it hurts the whole arena football market. Because other cities don't care what league teams is playing in. They just see, oh, this arena team folded or this arena team doing bad. From the outside looking in, if you're an actual fan who don't know the game but just a fan, they don't care what league you in. So we got to stop talking about leagues and build up the whole arena football, because every league got problems. I know teams in the IFL where they feeding their players hot dogs. I know teams in other leagues that housing ain't right now. So every league has their flaws. So don't nitpick.
So community support looks like that. 300 people. I mean, I understand that too, Coach. I feel like I just feel like, so, you say the players wear suits, right? And I think that's great. But I think for Coach Krantz and them, there's a narrative around him that he can't beat, real teams, right? What has he ever won in this industry? I can't think of it.
They say the same thing about West Michigan, but people still follow and watch West Michigan.
Right, but you have to build up that community. West Michigan is different than Cedar Rapids, right? Cedar Rapids has had a team in the IFL. They've had a team compete at the highest level before. So
West Michigan was in the IFL. West Michigan competed at the highest level before. You forgot I played against West Michigan in the IFL when I was with Bloomington. They was in there for years.
Sure.
So the standard is the same. They get no leeway than Cedar Rapids. It's all the same.
I can see that, but I also think,
Can I push back on that a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
No, I was going to say, there's no knock on you playing with Bloomington and stuff like that, but back in those days with Cedar Rapids and stuff, the standard might not be what the standard is now. I mean, when you look at the fields and stuff that people had back in those days, it's not what people have now. With when AFL 3.0 came through, because you were with the Rampage, right?
Yep, we had a brand new field.
That's what I'm saying. It was like,
they talked about us about our pregame, our soccer field we had that everybody thought was our field, but we
that's
didn't
what I'm
say
saying.
nothing.
Yeah, right. But I'm saying that's where it goes both ways. Like the standard at one point in time was, well, we can just recycle these fields and paint over it. But just as recent as a couple years ago, buying a new field, you could do it with I wouldn't say startup league, but that's pretty much what AFL 3.0 was. You can buy a brand new field and there you have it. So I'm not saying that there's no excuse for not painting over that stuff, but at the same time, if that's the only thing you can afford, then you might have to do that and pay the fines. I'm not really sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, those are my thoughts. I see that comment too, the vertical.
So the vertical version of our stream is super clean, but the horizontal one seems to be buggy. So only watch the vertical one, guys. No one watch the horizontal one.
We'll try to fix that. But no, so we'll take a little bit of a commercial break, and then we'll come back and talk about the women minors, and we'll be joined by our guest.
We did get a comment. They said the way fields or people are complaining about fields, they must be 100K or something. Yeah, most fields are 150 and above for a brand new field.
That's why they recycle them a lot, as you can get them cheaper.
Not everyone has money like my Orlando Pirates, but we don't need to talk about that.
Y'all played on a recycled field.
Into the end zone, touchdown! Russell has to step up in the pocket, has some room in front of him, gets that three-step drop, here comes the pressure, passes complete to Flowers, back to pass, pressure coming, has somebody in the end zone, touchdown! Russell, pressure's coming, Russell able to escape, still on his feet, and will be brought down at the looking, has plenty of time, has Flores at the 15, he's at the 10, and Russell has it on the outside. Like I said, he ain't taking a slide. Russell steps up, let's go. Robinson makes the circus catch. Going to be a low snap, here comes the pressure, and the pass is going to be complete. And making a catch on Grant Russell. Russell, back to pass, looking, he has Robinson makes the catch, and will be brought down on the play by Isaiah Hall.
Yeah, Cody, you see he tried to ignore my comment. Yeah, y'all been playing on recycled fields for years in Massachusetts, so cut the crap.
We got new turf twice, so I'm not sure what that's
well,
about.
if that was new turf, it sure didn't look pretty new to me. If you had to replace it twice.
It's also on the arena to kind of keep the turf updated, but that's a whole.
No, it's not. It's on you as an owner. That's your turf. Why would the arena keep your turf updated? Make that make sense, Chris. Now you're making excuses for your owner. Your owner spend money on players. He need to spend money on player health and development.
All right. So we're gonna transition here to talk about the Wheeling Miners. I'm joined by my boy AC. AC, what's good, man? How you doing?
What's up, man? How y'all doing?
What's up, baby Master P?
Master P. But Ace, so kind of just tell us about what's going on in Wheeling. I know you have a lot of different things going on. So how are you feeling about the season?
I'm optimistic about it.
Before you start, AC, I do got a spot for you if you want it. You know that.
Oh yeah, I already know, man. You know, you know how we rocking. Me and my dog McKinney down there too, right?
Yes, sir. As my OC QB coach, so you already know how we gonna come.
Heck yeah. But nah, bro, things are straight. You know what I mean? Like this a late season start though, so it's hard to kind of gauge what's gonna go on and how things is gonna shake out. But ain't no issues right now going on.
Sure. For me, I think, you look at kind of your coaching staff so far. You named one coach, quarterback coach. What direction would you like to see the coaching staff go in? Obviously, Reds left. That was a big loss for you. But what kind of, presence would you want to see on the staff, in your opinion?
I mean, you definitely got to have someone coming into a situation where you got to hit the ground running. You definitely want to have somebody with a resume, somebody that is suitable for the job, but also capable of stepping into a situation and just applying whatever his philosophy would be from a head coach standpoint, but also understanding that there are some guys that are returning, that so you got some building blocks. But I mean, the way that the season is going to start, if I'm not mistaken, the draft is like April 19th, and then the first game is that weekend. Some of the teams have preseason games, so when it comes to having a lot of time to prepare, you got to be able to make the maximum out of a small amount of time to get ready for a season. So you definitely got to have somebody that is aware of the situation, aware of what he's going on into, but also has the experience to be able to do so. From a head coaching standpoint, from a personnel standpoint, from all those things.
I know it's
100%.
gonna be
100%. And I think the one thing I did have a question for you though, AC, recently you guys partnered this week with the Pittsburgh Outlaws, in the
Mhm.
AL to kind of use it as a developmental program.
Mhm.
I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that. What do you think about that move?
I don't think it's a bad move. I think it's a way to have a feeder system kind of set up. If there's a guy that may have some potential, could help us in a certain area, or say we deal with some injuries or something like that, you can bring a guy over from the Pittsburgh Outlaws, but it gives you a nice pool of players to be able to look at under the same ownership.
Hey Chris, I thought it was more so uh if they get a coach in there that some players don't perceive, they still got a pool of players they can go to at the last minute. I know I talked to you before, AC. You said that's like the Ohio Valley is one of the hardest markets to be a head coach at because honestly, it ain't about who they hire. The city and the players have to accept that coach, or it's gonna be hard for them to be there. From what I've got, so that's like a hard market to coach in.
100%, 100%. It's definitely a hard market. There's talent around. Pittsburgh being very close, there's a lot of talent around, but um, it's different. It's always different going from the arena style or the indoor style with guys that don't have experience. You can accomplish a few things off of your natural understanding of football as a player in the indoor game because it's more adaptable. The arena game being its own unique style of play, it's hard to teach the small nuances that make you successful. So that's one of the challenges all the time. That's why I think guys go from outdoors into the indoor game and they can be successful because it's not too much of a difference. It's more so learning the dimensions of the field. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the arena style play is understanding angles and also knowing the game. There's a lot of places where you can manipulate things on the field, both from a defensive standpoint and an offensive standpoint, just off of what you know. You know what I mean? Like knowing that there's four DBs in the indoor game, the coverages can be a little bit different in terms of running something like two, something like four. In terms of arena style, you three DBs and a limited jack in terms of his movement. You feel me? But on the offensive side of the ball, it's still three offensive guys against four defenders in the passing game. You know what I mean? So it's just learning the ins and outs, learning how you can manipulate things. Also, something very small that can impact the game, like the quarterback has to know if he pump fakes, then the jack can take off and do whatever he wants to do. You know what I mean? That's the smaller things you would get. So I think also who comes in and plays quarterback is going to be essential for the extension of the head coach and the OC as well.
Yeah, what are your thoughts about that, Cody?
I'll be brutally honest with you. I'm more focused on the streaming issues right now, so I have not been paying attention. My apologies on that one. I'm just trying to make sure everyone gets a good stream. So I thought you guys were keeping the conversation doing just fine as I tuned out. So
Yeah, I don't really have a lot of thoughts. I mean, I think, I don't know if there's really any Pittsburgh Outlaws players that can compete to the standard of the Willie Miners. But I think if you can find one or two, it's a huge success. So it's worth a try, if you know what I mean. Um,
But it's
if
definitely not looked at as it's a partnership from an ownership standpoint. Our owner he has two teams, but we're not looking at the Pittsburgh Outlaws as if they could supplant the Miners if we needed them to. Nobody's looking at it that way. You know what I'm saying? I think it's just another area that our owner wanted to be a part of, and that more so works as a developmental system. You know what I mean? So say there's a guy who came to a tryout got invited to camp. We like him, but he's not really there yet. You know what? We can't sign you on our team, but we do have another team, the Pittsburgh Outlaws. We'll see if they got, an area and opportunity for you, and we can put you there instead of sending the guy home. That's one of the better things of it, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we're going to take a commercial break, and then we're going to welcome on our Indoor Football League guest. I know Cody's excited for this one. So move the comments and go ahead and take that break and make that happen.
Omaha Beef Football, Prime Dancers, Rump Roasters, Slaughterhouse, are you ready? DJ next one. You ready? 3, 2, 1, go! Welcome to the Orange Kingdom. Yeah. Orange Kingdom. Welcome to the Orange Kingdom. Yeah. Orange Kingdom. Welcome to the Slaughterhouse where we run it. Yeah, we really want it. Beef Nation got them shaking. Got a ring and we flown it. Prime Dancers be on it. I bet the competition's no opposition. We come to take and we done it. Ricky is the chief saying, let's go beef. Welcome to the Orange Kingdom. Yeah. Orange Kingdom. Welcome to the Orange Kingdom. Yeah. Orange Kingdom. Welcome to the Slaughterhouse. Orange and Black. About to win this. Defense stays on attack. You on our hit list. Blocking and dumping, jumping out the gymnasium. You want to see the best? Meet us at the Beef Stadium. Yeah. Orange Kingdom. Welcome to the Orange Kingdom. Let's go Beef. Orange Kingdom. Slaughterhouse. Orange Kingdom. Prime Dancers. Let's roll, baby.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that kind of separates the Indoor Football League from other leagues is its ability to find high caliber partners. Whether that's with ticketing, merch, TV, everything. So we wanted to introduce one of those partners this morning. I'm gonna bring on Nate Long from Fan Cave. Nate, how you doing this morning?
Yeah, doing well, guys. How are you? Good morning.
Good to hear from you. My first question for you is kind of talk to us about the background of Fan Cave. When did you guys get started? Who came up with the idea? And just give us a backstory.
Oh, man, do you want the short version or the long version? Because, I can go all the way back to when I was 10 years old, and this thing started on a dream and going to sporting events, or I can give you the skinny, and we can start in 2014 when the business started. Completely up to you.
Long version is fine with us.
Cool, man. I'll try to make it as short as I can, but I'm Nate Long. I'm the owner over here at Fan Cave. My company's been in business since 2014, but as I mentioned, I started selling tickets when I was just 10 years old. I was born in Grand Rapids, Michigan, so a huge Rampage fan way back when. But my mom moved down to Florida, Tampa in particular, when I was 10 years old. And when we got down there, I learned that my stepdad was a huge Tampa Bay Buccaneers football fan. We had half season tickets that we actually split with another family. So we were all right. We were a middle class family. So getting to go to some games was pretty cool for me at that age. But y'all probably aren't too familiar. The Bucks, they sucked back then. They weren't Tom Brady Super Bowl winners by any means. They were coming off a Super Bowl run. But
tread lightly there, bud.
Hey, man, I'm the biggest Bucks fan on the planet, maybe second to my stepdad. But with that, the second year that we went, they weren't very good. And my stepdad didn't want to go anymore. So my mom told me that she learned from her boss that if we went down to the game 15 minutes before kickoff, we could probably get some pretty cheap tickets from somebody selling tickets outside. So at 11 years old, I got pretty good at it. My mom would give me $40 and I'd go down and tell somebody I had $20 for a ticket, and I'd get a ticket, go inside, get a soda, and I was rocking and rolling. I got pretty good at it pretty quick. I started buying 2 tickets at a time, and then I'd sell one, keep one, make a couple bucks, and go to the game. So it just became my way as a young kid to be able to go to these sporting events. When I was 14 years old, I'm going to show my age a little bit here. That's when StubHub was invented. So I remember on my 14th birthday, I got on StubHub and I found Tampa Bay Lightning hockey tickets for $1 per ticket plus fees. So a whopping $7 a ticket because $6 in fees. Why not? So with that, we bought the tickets, we went to the game, had a great time. And for me, it kind of opened my eyes to some opportunities there. And I started buying tickets on StubHub and selling them to friends and family for, $5, $10 markup, something small just to be able to make a couple bucks. And of course, I made my family happy. They didn't know they could go to so many, events for so cheap, especially like I said, back then. It wasn't like everybody was using, digital apps or anything like that to buy tickets. A few years later, my mother asked me to sell a few items for on Craigslist, and I went on there to post those items for her. And sure enough, they had a whole tab labeled tickets. They were being sold by owners, individuals, by big companies. I mean, there was all sorts of tickets down there that you couldn't even imagine. And so I started buying tickets there and then going down to the games and selling the tickets in front of the stadium. Before I, finally got introduced to a company that's based in Tampa, Florida. They had posted an ad saying that they had 35 free college basketball tickets for an exhibition game, and they were giving them away for free. All you had to do was show up. So I called them and I said, hey, I'll take all 35 tickets. And they said, that's great. Show up with 34 friends and we'll give you 35 tickets. So I said, okay, well, I'll call you back. Let me talk to my friends first. And guys, I don't think I knew 30 people back then. So, with that, I finally called him back and I just shot him straight. And I just said, hey, listen, truth is, I'm going to sell these tickets. You guys are going to give them away for free. So, worst case scenario, you give me the tickets, you never hear from me again, and you get the same amount of money for the tickets. Best case scenario, I sell the tickets, I bring you back the money, and, you guys let me do it again. I sold all the tickets, made way more money than they thought they were going to get on the tickets. They told me to keep the money and come back the next week. And that's when I learned what a ticket brokerage really was. These guys had some really large deals with some major teams, the Pistons, the Lions, the Rays, the USF Bulls, just a bunch of really large accounts. And I mean, this is back when we had hard tickets. I mean, I went in their office and it's like, instead of, jerseys and stuff on the wall, it was shelves of tickets. And it was absolutely a nuts time to be involved for sure. But they took me under their wing for a couple years until I turned 18. And then unfortunately, I didn't understand this as a kid, but once I was 18, they told me they didn't want to put me on payroll. It devastated me. It broke my heart. But I went back to buying and flipping tickets off of StubHub, Craigslist, wherever I could get tickets. And I did that for a couple years until I met my first business partner. He was a venture capitalist. He worked in insurance, mainly as an insurance broker. And he asked me, if I were to start a business, what would I need to get this thing rocking and rolling? And I told him, just a shot in the dark. I just said, I don't know, maybe a couple $1,000s. And sure enough, by the next week, he sent me $2,000 and said, get to work. And I lost $1,000 the first week I was in business. And I remember it was so painful, but I swallowed my pride. I got on the phone. I called him back and said, hey, listen, I want to try again one more time. And he gave me one more $1,000 and said, that's it. Don't call me and ask me for any more money. We did 27,000 in sales the first year. And last year we did 3.4 million. We work with over 26 sporting franchises on an exclusive basis. We're the only broker that's allowed to buy and resell their tickets with the intention of a profit. And obviously, as you guys are aware, we just launched our partnership with the Indoor Football League. It's going to be a great season with them, man. They're doing some really great things over there. So our goal is to help our partners sell more tickets and put more butts in seats. And of course, even more importantly, expand their ticketing reach beyond where they're currently selling. So, obviously a lot of teams, they might use Ticketmaster or AXS or insert random ticket company name here as their primary market. But, the majority of us are familiar with secondary market websites, right? Like StubHub, SeatGeek, Vivid Seats, TickPick. You Google the word tickets, you're going to land on about 30 different sites. Our goal is to make sure that our partners have their tickets on all of those websites, no matter where the customer lands.
So who approached who first? Was it you that approached the IFL, or did the IFL approach you, or how did that connection or deal take place?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we actually have our relationship primarily started on the hockey side of the business. So being local here to Grand Rapids, and now I moved back to Grand Rapids after I graduated high school. So the Grand Rapids Griffins AHL hockey team was the first team that I ever worked with. And from there, they've kind of fallen like dominoes. Syracuse Crunch is our longest tenured partner. We've been partnered with them for 11 years. But long story short, eventually I was introduced to ECHL teams. We have our largest allotment of partnerships in the ECHL. And as you may be aware, some of the ECHL owners are actually starting to add IFL teams under their ownership umbrella. So our great partners that we have down in Tulsa, the Oilers, was kind of our first introduction into the IFL in particular when they launched a team. So given the opportunity, we jumped on board with them, and I went down to Tulsa and caught a game. And honestly, guys, I fell in love right away. I thought the sport was a ton of fun. I felt like they're going to sell a ton of tickets. So we got involved with them. As you guys are aware too, Fishers now has a team. We have a relationship with them on the hockey side. So that was an easy transition. And from there, they've kind of just fallen like dominoes. I mean, I hate to use that term again, but it's just, after one partnership landed, the next one was interested. I'm wearing my Green Bay Blizzard sweater right now. So it started with just a couple of partnerships in the league. And that's when I went out to the IFL championship game last year in Tucson. And I expressed my interest to Todd Tryon of sharing more about my business. He asked me to shoot him an email. And I thought it fell on deaf ears because it was quite a long time before I heard anything back. But then they introduced the new development of business, the president of business development, Jared Widman. And he gave me a shout right away and told me that they were interested in exploring a partnership. So that's how it came to fruition. And we're excited for this season. It'll be our first official year for the entire league as a partnership, but not our first year selling IFL tickets in general.
So what sets you guys apart from, as you say, a StubHub or a SeatGeek or whatever? What are you doing for the IFL or with the IFL to put Fan Cave and the league head and shoulders above where anyone else can buy these tickets?
Yeah, no, I mean, in the end, StubHub, SeatGeek, TickPick, Vivid Seats, those are all marketplaces, right? So fanCaveTickets.com, we have our own marketplace. We're kind of unique in that essence. A lot of brokers in my industry are really focused on the B2B side. So the fact that we have not only the B2B side, but we also have the B2C, aka, our retail website. I think that that's a huge plus to working with us. But, the one thing that I want to emphasize is that, we're not here to, what's the word for it? Like, it's not a competition of, which is better for the IFL, using us versus like StubHub. We sell our tickets on all those platforms. So really the goal is for the IFL to have an extended reach, on their ticketing side, right? We want to make sure that no matter where the customer is buying their tickets, no matter how they're paying for their tickets, maybe they have a gift card, maybe they have credit card rewards points, maybe a friend is gifting them tickets, whatever it may be. We want to make sure that the customer is able to buy legitimate tickets at reasonable prices, no matter where they click.
All right, I got one final question. I can turn it over to Krish after this one. Two questions. One's a joking question. The first question is a joke. It's, how do you feel about the destruction of physical tickets? Because I'm blaming you for that. Secondly, do you guys plan on ever doing physical tickets? I know I've got a scrapbook of them from all of the times I went to Tulsa Talons games or Kansas City Brigade games, or even like KU or Nebraska or anything like that. Do you guys ever plan on doing anything with physical tickets?
Yes. I mean, as I mentioned, 15 years ago, it was all physical tickets. As we started to approach the end of the 2010s, near COVID there, that's when the shift on Ticketmaster's part really pushed the industry. They started introducing the electronic tickets. It started with, PDFs. The problem with PDFs is they're not secure, right? So like, I could sell Krish a PDF, and then I could sell Cody the same PDF, and then you both show up to the game and you don't know who's got the real ticket, right? It's usually a race to see who scans it first. So Ticketmaster had to immediately, adapt to that and, created what we know today, for electronic tickets, rotating barcodes and things like that. And a lot of teams, like I said, this was introduced probably like 2016 is when, electronic tickets really started to come to fruition. But teams were hesitant, right? I mean, you talk about some of these markets where, like we work with the Fort Wayne Comets in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I mean, that team's been around for, 100 years, you know what I'm saying? I mean, a long time. And so it's like their fans, it was a learning curve, right? To introduce them to electronic tickets. So it made it kind of like the fans being a little bit, hesitant to it kind of slows the teams down. They don't want to miss out on sales, by switching to electronic ticketing. And then boom, we all got hit with COVID. So when COVID shut down, events and things like that, the push to electronic tickets became mandatory instead of optional. So while it was obviously a very, very bad thing for our industry, it made some openings for some shifts in, the way the technology is used. And then, will I ever implement hard tickets on my end? I mean, we can sell tickets no matter what format they're in. It doesn't matter if it's a digital ticket. It doesn't matter if you want to be on a wait list. There's so many different ways to sell tickets. And the best part about brokers is they're always getting creative and unique and things like that. You've got the brokers or, unfortunately, the scalpers that, kind of give a bad name for, some of the reputable companies, but the thing about all of us is we're all super innovative when it comes to, our craft. We all are, doing everything that we can to sell tickets. And it doesn't matter how that ticket comes about, hard ticket, electronic ticket, or anything in between. But I think that there's an opening, for a company to come in and truly create like a, what's the word for it? Like almost not a replica ticket, but something that kind of passes as a hard ticket that you can keep for your scrapbook or put up on the wall, things like that. So like a memento instead of it actually scanning to get you in the door.
Yeah. I mean, that's, like you said, it's all digital now, but I know for a lot of people, they clamor for that physical ticket to be like, I was there, I can show you this. And it's like, I attended this event and I don't have to go print off my email saying that I was there. So whether it's the replica or anything like that, it's pretty cool. So.
Yeah, I find this really interesting. I think one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, how do you handle the pricing structure? Because I imagine that can be challenging at times.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the one thing that, I learned really early on in this business is that no two teams, are exactly the same, right? What works in, Quad Cities might not work in Tucson, and what works in Tucson might not work in Green Bay, et cetera. So, all of our pricing, starts centered around, the team's pricing, right? So face value and above is always our goal, right? My goal isn't to sell tickets for less than face value to undercut the team and things like that, right? I want to make sure that we're uplifting their product, so pricing, on our end is all done on demand. So, similar to like how at the top levels of sport, everything is done on a dynamic pricing model, right? So like a Saturday, baseball game in July is going to be more valuable than a Tuesday baseball game in May, things like that. Obviously, your opponent, a Yankees ticket is going to sell for more than an A's ticket. So, all of these factors come into play, obviously a little bit less drastic, at the IFL level, but believe it or not, it still exists, that fans for certain teams travel better. Fans, want to come out to Saturday games more than they want to come out to a Monday or a Friday, things like that. So, our pricing is truly based on demand.
Quick thing I have for you. Again, another joke question, but maybe not. You said you were working with the indoor football league with Tulsa and Fishers and stuff like that. Are there other teams potentially coming down the pike that you may be able to talk about that might need tickets? Potential expansion teams or anything like that you want to potentially get in trouble with?
I mean,
you don't have to do it. I'm just messing with you.
No, I mean, I can tell you this at a minimum, right? I mean, I think, and this kind of leads me into a great talking point too, is that, I think that it's a no-brainer for some of these ECHL, AHL, or, insert any, team that's having success in an arena right now to flip the switch and add some form of an indoor football team. It doesn't, truly matter, as Coach B was saying earlier, right? Like fans want to see football, no matter, what league that they're affiliated with. Obviously, the IFL is, in my opinion, the most reputable league, in indoor football at the moment, So it's, I think, a no-brainer and kind of a turnkey, solution for some of these already successful arena franchises to simply say, hey, do you want to add 8 premium Saturdays to, your summer schedule after they just sold 36 hockey games? They've already got the staff in place. They've already got the infrastructure in place. They've already got the relationships in place. So I think that whether you see new teams added or you just see more ownership shifts to some of these more sources that already have success, I think that that's going to be, where you see the model change. And, one of the biggest things that just specifically talking about the ECHL ownership groups and the mentalities they're bringing in. And of course, Jared Widman, big shout out to him too. IFL and some of these other football leagues, they get captured on selling football, right? I mean, in the end, they're trying to bring out football fans and, they're trying to, have the biggest hits and they're trying to, make sure that they have, the most wins and, this and that. And I think they're forgetting, that truly, as Coach B was suggesting, fans want to come out and have fun. They want to go out and have family affordable entertainment. It's beyond just watching football. Football sells itself. It's the most popular sport in the United States. So I think that as this focus on the ownership side changes from selling football to selling affordable family entertainment, I think you're going to see a ginormous leap by the Indoor Football League from that mentality shift. And these owners that are coming over from these hockey leagues are bringing that mentality. And of course, the creative thinking that they have to have, right? I mean, there's a difference between selling 8 games versus selling 36 plus playoffs, on the hockey side. So they've had to get more creative, alternate identities, different promotions, different giveaways, etc. So I'm excited to see what that looks like in the future.
TJ, you got any questions?
Yeah. I was off air for a minute, so I apologize. This was already asked, but with the agreement with the IFL, does it allow you to possibly make agreements with other leagues in the future, or is, in terms of indoor and arena, is it exclusive for the IFL only moving forward?
Sure. I mean, we're open to working with any team that's, looking to expand their ticketing reach, right? And I mean, I hate to sound really cliche, but, I mean, if it's a team that sells, 1,000 tickets, give me a call. If it's a team that sells 20,000 tickets, give me a call. It doesn't matter how many tickets you're moving. There's always an opportunity to get in front of more fans and, reach those buyers. So no, there's no exclusivity, in the deal specifically of, us having to only work with, one league. So, I'm looking forward to obviously seeing what falls next, after this partnership really gains some traction. Obviously, just getting launched, we're getting ready to start the season in, a few weeks here. I think once we have a couple weeks under our belt and people see what we're really all about, I think that we're going to see quite a bit of demand for business from some other leagues as well.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this, man. I feel like you guys are really going to help the sport grow in terms of ticket sales. I'm really excited about this partnership.
Well, I appreciate that, man. And I like your hat. I thought I was going to have the most unique hat on the live stream, but man, I really, really enjoy the variety of hats we got here. Cody, yours is pretty fire too.
I mean, it's the Kansas City Royals Yu-Gi-Oh combination. So what can you do?
Yes, sir, baby. KC.
Spring training just started, baby. I'm ready.
But I think one question, and it comes up often, in the ticket market, is the scalping, right? It happens on every platform, Ticketmaster, StubHub, TickPick. What would you recommend these companies do to ensure it doesn't continue to go on?
That's a fantastic question. And, that was actually one of the things that we discussed at IFL meetings this last week in Vegas. I had an opportunity to present to the teams, and I didn't really focus much on, what Fan Cave does individually to help bolster teams. I focus more on macro topics, explaining the difference between a primary and a secondary market. And what you're saying, at the minor league level, really the issue that I'm seeing, and we're helping our partners combat is speculative listings, similar to drop shipping on the Amazon side of the business, right? Like, when you say scalping or you say speculative or faux listings, things like that, it kind of brings a weird sense of the market to mind, right? Again, you hear scalper and you immediately think overpriced, gouging, things like that. What's happening here is it's just a lack of technology, on the ticket sellers / the team's part, right? So when I'm a team, let's say I work with Ticketmaster and I have my tickets listed for sale. And we can actually see this in real time. I wish I could pull my screen up here for you guys, but nonetheless, if you were to go to a website, let's use Vivid Seats for example, and you were to look up the Orlando Pirates as a great example, and you look up their tickets, you're going to see the same exact tickets on Vivid Seats that are currently available on Ticketmaster. Like the exact same seats being carried over at an inflated price point. What's happening is behind the scenes, there are brokers who have technological integrations with Ticketmaster that allow them to list these teams' tickets in real time on the secondary market at a markup, but with no risk, right? So say, Cody gets on and buys 2 Orlando Pirates tickets from Vivid Seats. And
I would never.
Good, smart man. So, he gets on there and he buys, his 2 tickets, from Vivid Seats to the Orlando Pirates game. And they're the last row of the last section in the lower level, and they're twice face value. But for him, that was just the first website he landed on. He doesn't know any better. So he buys the tickets. The broker at that time then goes back to the primary market, Ticketmaster, buys the tickets, and then fills Cody's sale. So with that, the broker has no risk. They also don't have legitimate tickets until those tickets are purchased. And God forbid those tickets aren't available anymore. Cody has a confirmation, has his card charged, everything like that. The broker simply clicks reject on the back end, and now they wash their hands clean of it. Cody's in limbo, wondering where his tickets are and why he didn't get them. And that's a common issue that you see at the minor league level in particular. At the major league level, most teams are either sold out or there's enough tickets on the secondary market that those listings aren't relevant, right? Because if they're charging double the price that you see on Ticketmaster, well, obviously if there's thousands of tickets on the market, they're going to all be cheaper than that. So our goal is to introduce fair price tickets to these marketplaces because, the good old saying, you can't beat them, join them. I think that the secondary market is a marketing machine for these companies, for these individual teams, if they leverage it and use it right. Because, a lot of the time you get that mentality of like, we don't like brokers or, that's a scam website or this and that. But what they're not realizing is how many people are landing on these websites because of the marketing dollars and efforts that are being put in by those platforms. So instead of combating them and trying to prevent them from selling your tickets, which they're going to do whether you have a relationship or not, this is more of a way for the teams to kind of take back control of their ticketing, get more information about where their tickets are, how much fans are paying for their tickets, and of course, data sharing involved with that, right? So if you're a customer, you buy Fan Cave's tickets on Vivid Seats, then they're going to get the data associated with that versus Joe Blow broker who's reflecting the seats from Ticketmaster. The team's not even going to know that they were sold to a broker. They're just going to see somebody went on Ticketmaster, bought 2 tickets, and then transferred them. So I think that answers your question in the longest way possible.
Yeah, I've got one more question. I promise I'm going to run out of questions eventually. I am planning on doing quite a few road trips this year to go see indoor football league games, hopefully going up to Green Bay, down to Tulsa, Quad Cities, Iowa, everything like that. In your honest opinion, is it better to go up to the front office and secure tickets that way? Or do you want to plug your product and have me buy through Fan Cave?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, it varies. And again, I hate to sound like I'm kind of repeating myself here, but it really depends on the game. It really depends on the opponent. It really depends on where you want to sit, things like that, right? Like, let's just say, you have a team that, only averages a couple thousand in attendance. Sometimes that still means that the best seats are gone, right? You can't get front row or you can't get 25-yard line. Or things of that nature. Maybe you can't get the specific seats that you want. And that's where Fan Cave comes in handy, for those individuals who are a little bit more aware of what they're purchasing, per se, is that they might come to us, to look for specific opportunities to buy the tickets that they want. But of course, I always encourage people to reach out to the teams to buy tickets directly at the venue if they can, to avoid online ticket purchasing fees. Ticketmaster charges absolutely absurd fees, for every purchase. So if you can avoid those in any way by calling the team or by, going right to their box office or visiting, our website, I think you're winning, doing any of those three things.
Can you just kind of reflect on some of the challenges, you faced during the evolution of the company?
Yeah, man. I mean, we kind of touched on it a little bit. We talked about COVID. In 2020, we went from, $1 million business to a $0 business overnight. Obviously no events, no tickets, no money. That was an extremely challenging time, where, we've got commitments and partnerships and, expectations to, help our partners, keep the lights on, right? We have that's the whole part about our partnership is we're really a risk mitigation company or a fancy insurance policy on the ticket side, right? We give them X amount of dollars in exchange for X amount of tickets. And if the tickets, can't be sold, they still expect their money, we have fantastic partners. A lot of credit goes to them, for us surviving the pandemic, allowing us to kind of be more flexible, with getting payments to them, and a little bit more flexible with, the number of tickets that they could give us, later on to try to make up for it. That was probably one of the most challenging times in the business. But, really, I'd say, man, the hardest time, and I don't talk about this too much, but it's a great question. The two most challenging issues I think I faced in this business, first one was when I started the business, right? I remember being a kid and, my mom would introduce me and say, oh, my son has a little ticketing business. And, for me, it was just like, that would irk me, so bad, because it's like, this isn't intended to be, a high school, side project. This is intended to be a future livelihood for me. And so, I remember, the hardest part was trying to figure out how in the hell I was going to turn this from just a hobby into a actual business. And I think that's where, I found the opportunity in minor league sports. Minor league sports in general is underserved. But I always consider, for some people, minor league sports is their big league, right? That's their night out on the town. That's their big Saturday hockey game, their big Saturday football game, it is the minor league sports. So, I truly saw an opportunity to bring the major league level to the minor league level in terms of relationship. So with that was probably, the biggest challenge I had to face, in the early days of the business, is how was I going to, bring this from kind of a dream to a reality? And, how was I going to be able to use it to, pay the bills? I have a son, he's 9 years old now. And, at the time, as a new father, so that was just a ton of pressure to make sure things, succeeded. And, kind of parlaying with that question, the most difficult thing I've ever had to do in the history of this business was stand outside in Syracuse, New York in negative 10-degree weather and try to sell tickets. And if I didn't sell those tickets, I might not have a business today, because it was literally the difference between a couple $100 was the difference between being able to pay the bills and not pay the bills. So, I'll never forget having 30 tickets basically that I hadn't sold for a Syracuse Crunch hockey game. And I drove, 12 hours to upstate New York from here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, just to stand outside in cold weather to get a couple $100 back. I probably made on the trip $50 or something like that when it was all said and done. But, for me, it was like getting the cost back on those tickets was more than worth the trip, in my opinion. So, those are just some of the challenges, that I faced early on. And, as I continue to grow the businesses, the challenge, really is racing the technology, right? There's so many technological advancements going on, in the world. And that's just, the same with tickets, the ways that teams are distributing tickets, some are using brokers, and some are, finding ways to broker the tickets on their own, and others still are we don't like brokers, we won't work with them, we don't want to talk to them. So, we have people at every point of that journey in the industry now, but I think you're going to see more and more teams get further along to that point of, how can the technology work for them? And that's going to shift, our business a little bit, and finding ways that, we can still provide value, even for these teams that, learn how to leverage the technology for themselves.
For sure. And my final question for you, kind of another reflective one. Different teams in the indoor football league, like Orlando, for example, we play in one of the biggest arenas in the league. Vegas plays in a more compact, small, intimate setting, right? When you look at the league as a whole, what would a good season of attendance be? I know everyone is different, but would it be, 70% at every game, or would it be 80%? Like, how do you measure those metrics?
Sure. And I mean, I think that, the one thing that, most of my partners go back to is purely revenue, right? Like, we can have 1,000, 2,000 people in the door as long as, the revenue, is where it needs to be to keep the lights on, to pay the employees, to, make sure that the business is sustainable first, right? Because, truly the value of owning a team comes from the ownership and the membership itself. So it's like, using, Arena or IFL, for example, if you own a franchise, if let's say you break even for 20 years, well, that franchise itself is worth a lot more 20 years down the road than it was 20 years ago. So sometimes it's just more about sustaining and being alive. Obviously you see how many teams, in particular in arena football, fold, leagues come and go, things like that. So, I mean, really, I wouldn't say success is truly measured by attendance. It's more, measured by revenue and the ability to pay the bills. But, I would say each team individually has, their own internal goals, for, what is a successful season. Obviously, if you're a team, that does really well, like Green Bay, then your goal is going to be to sell out every single game. If you're playing in a huge stadium, like, the Barnstormers, then your goal might be to have a crowd of 10,000 plus, it might be to, fill the lower bowl on a regular basis. I mean, every team has their own individual goals that would put them in their minds into a successful season. I'd say for us, it's going to be just about, proof of concept, for a lot of the teams, right? I mean, I've worked with a handful of the teams so far, in the league, but there's another, half dozen teams that, we haven't sold any tickets for them in the past. So I don't know what we're getting into, in that regards, but I would say a successful season would be to sell even a pair of tickets, would be more than enough, to show that there's a need to have a secondary market partner to help them distribute their tickets. But obviously, I have confidence and full faith in our ability to really move the needle for some of these teams.
Hey, Nate, I got a quick question for you. It's like a two-part question.
Let's hear it.
Do you think it's beneficial for most teams to use a broker? And if they do have a broker, is it still beneficial for them to have a ticket sales team? And the second part is, how beneficial is it for most teams to actually hire a real ticket sales team?
That's a fantastic question. And honestly, at the IFL level, or any arena level, I'm learning that each staff is different, right? I was just talking about Tulsa and Fishers and guys like that. I mean, they have full staffs, 20 plus people, that are already working on the hockey side that are, now flipping over to the football side. But then, you've got, some of, the other teams where it's like the general manager is the ticketing guy, is the marketing guy, is the everything guy. And I think for teams like that in particular, then, having a broker isn't just a no-brainer. It's almost mandatory, right? Because, they double as your ticket sales staff, as I've been called by some partners, an extension of their sales staff, and our goal isn't to be a replacement per se, of that sales staff. But I mean, in the end, if you can have a whole arm of marketing and sales and customer service all in one swipe that is with a broker who's also giving you guaranteed revenue, I mean, I think it's a no-brainer for a lot of teams to utilize a broker, no matter what their situation is. But I would say in particular, those companies that, do have smaller sales staff. I think it goes from being important to work with a broker to almost mandatory if you want to make sure that you're not missing out on the power of single game sales.
Yeah, I just want to kind of wrap up here. One final question on my end. I think the biggest thing, when we look at the ticket market today, it's kind of the oversaturation of events. Do you have a limit that you envision your company in the long run when you grow this, how big you want to grow it, to the point where you put a limit on who you accept, and how do you vet potential partners?
That's a fantastic question, and I'm blessed that between the additional staff that I've hired and the technological advancements that I've made, for the company, that we continue to bring on new partners, and that we have a lot of room for growth still. But obviously, thinking long term, down the road, there might be, I guess, an opportunity where we might have to limit the number of partnerships. I like I said, it's not anywhere in the horizon. I don't see that yet, but if that were the case, and we had to start vetting or picking partners, I think it comes down to kind of like I was talking about during COVID, is what partners are looking for mutual benefit, right? Not just the partners that call us and say, hey, where's our payment? Fire it in, and okay, we'll talk to you next year. We want the partners that are more invested in our success as well. The ones that are willing to, come up with creative ideas to get Fan Cave more involved. Come up with, creative solutions to help them meet their ticketing goals, while also, hoping that, we can grow, in what we're doing with the team as well. So, I think that's what it would come down to in that scenario for me, is just making sure that, the partnership is truly mutually beneficial, and kind of vetting partnerships that way. But fingers and toes crossed, we never get to that point. Maybe, Fan Cave will be, Walmart someday, and we'll have all the employees that you could ever need and all the stores you could ever imagine. But we're prepared for anything.
Nate, I appreciate your time this morning. I wish you the best of luck in your future and for the 2026 season. Talk to you soon, man.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate you having me, and best of luck to you guys as well. You guys are growing a great thing over there. Obviously, you caught my attention, name dropping us, a while back. So, good work to you guys. It's been fun, and appreciate you having me. I'd love to come back again soon.
Hey, Nate, check the comments.
I got you, brother. I'm on it.
I don't know, man. I kind of want to turn up the spice a little bit. So I say we move on before we go indoor football league. We talk about the National Arena League real quick. Coach B's favorite team, the team that was supposed to win the championship, according to Coach B, the Dallas Bulls. Robert Kent recently stepped down as head coach per multiple sources. Cody, when you see what's going on in Dallas, what's your reaction to everything so far?
It's kind of what we talked about in the group chat. This team joined and then didn't join last season. They changed their colors and decided we're going to do this again. It's no ill will on the team. If they can make it work, they can make it work. But what you're seeing right now and what you're not seeing behind the scenes could be two different things. I don't know. It's definitely not a good look for them. And it really makes you question what truly is going on with this team, with this front office. And as everyone says, in a market like Dallas, Fort Worth, Irving, Arlington, all of that stuff, you should be able to make football work. And it seems like they're not. So I'm not sure. It just doesn't look good.
Got to be transparent, man. From me being with the organization, the owner was not very transparent with us as a staff and things like that. We barely knew what was going on, where we're coming, we're going. So no shot at Doc, but if you're gonna come in and you've been doing this for years, act like you've been doing this for years. Don't come in half button it, and you know what to expect. You know what I mean? So I think when you come in here, and I think leagues need to start really properly vetting these teams, because if you're not trying to pay a coach, what makes you think we're gonna think you're gonna pay a player? If you're not trying to pay your front office staff, what makes you think you're gonna pay players? It's just a simple fact. We gotta really start being realistic with ourselves and vetting. And Dallas is one of the hugest markets in arena football. So for that to happen there, it's a slap in the face to the whole arena football. It don't matter what league it in, and I say that every day. People don't care about what league you're in. I've been talking to people all the time. I'm down here in Dallas right now. They don't even know the Dallas Bulls exist. Half the people I talk to.
Well, that's a
Yeah.
topic for another day, though, man. I mean, that's a topic between a large city versus, I don't want to say minor league, but minor league compared to the big four sports leagues. People are going to look at the Cowboys and the Mavericks and all of that stuff before they even think about indoor and arena football. So
My thing is, you should, before owners let any team in the league, send your commissioner or send your director of ops down there. Make sure they got turf. Make sure they got dashers before you even announce. And then you do everything else. When I go to a team, the first thing I do is make sure my team got housing, food, and medical. If they ain't got that, I'm not saying nothing until we got it. That's just how it gotta be. But
Yeah.
you can't this guy done been through two or three front office staff since June, three head coaches since June. If the writing ain't on the wall, then I don't know what it is. Either get him out of there and replace him with a credible team and save that market, or just don't let this guy in. I don't know even know how he keeps getting to sit in different league meetings and try to go to a league if he's not sustainable or credible.
You can say the same thing about any of those leagues, though, whether it's the AFL with the Desperados, the Vigilantes, the IFL with Frisco. I mean, you can count the Dallas Bulls in here, too, because, I mean, at the end of the day, every team's going to end up folding at some point unless you just keep it going. But
I think the leagues need to be transparent, too.
Yeah,
Don't lie
Dallas
about
just
it.
seems like a market where people go to die. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Everyone tries it.
It's actually not. It's a great market, Cody. If
I'm
you
not
do
saying
it
it's
right.
not a bad market. I'm not saying it's not a bad market. I'm just saying that the market needs to be marketed too, and I feel like teams don't do a very good job at it.
No. And that's what I was telling Chris the other day. If you don't market in your own community, I don't care what social media think or none of that. I got to get my community behind me first. Like in Odessa, all my marketing is local. Odessa, Midland, and the surrounding areas, because I got to get that community back on board. Without them, we don't have a fan base. I can care less what they're doing in Vegas or Nebraska or anywhere else, because that don't matter to the people in Odessa. You got to make sure you market your fan base first, build up your local crowd, then you build up the outer crowd in the other cities after you got a solid fan base. Make it look presentable, make it look to par. You know what I mean? Make sure your players and your staff is taken care of first. That way, when you do go to social media, it's you leave no gray areas or in betweens.
Exactly, and I want to just clarify something real quick, Cody, if that's cool with you. You know, the biggest thing for me, man, is this started all back in October for me, right? So, we see Rodney Blackshear is hired. It's a big deal. Everyone's excited. Rodney Blackshear played at, Texas Tech. He's a local hero down there. But the thing where it started is there was a show done where it was mentioned that Dallas was going to have a big press conference because Doc likes to do everything big because he's in Dallas. October, November, December, January, and now we're at the end of February, and I haven't seen any press conference. I don't know if they had it. I don't know if they didn't record it. I don't know what it is. But
no press conference was had.
So that's my first issue. Okay. So second issue is, Rodney Blackshear resigns, right? And so it's kind of crazy, he's local. Well, maybe it was a payment disagreement. If you read the messages, he says the ADP is not working. I've never heard that before. Like, that's insane.
Time out to piggyback on that. Everybody know who works with ADP. Right. ADP has a contract with every company. If something goes wrong, they got 48 hours to fix it. If they don't, then it's an issue. So that ADP stuff was out the water. He's used that excuse with several employees.
But my thing is, like, I support the NAL. I love the NAL. I watch an NAL game. I'm flying across the country to watch an NAL game. Like, it's nothing against the NAL, and I think they've done a really good job this offseason. I think the partners they brought in, and we'll talk about that here soon with the MyBookie and everything. Like I'm really happy with the direction, the card, and the leadership down there is taking the league. I just think this is more of an organizational issue, and I think I want to hear more about what's going on in Dallas from the organization. Like I want to see Doc put out a statement, a video. It takes, every Thursday night we see Ricky from Omaha sit up there, and do a coaching show and say what's going on and give some level of transparency. That's just my thing.
Only time Doc gonna say something if somebody puts something negative up about the team or him. That's the only time you hear from Doc. I got players I talked to when I was on the Dallas Bulls coaching staff said they never even met Doc or they never heard from some of the coaches. So if you're not even having team meetings or players, you signing players and never talk to them again, that's already a sign of disaster.
Sure. But I mean, I think it's something just to keep an eye on. I think, we'll continue to hear developments out of Dallas. I hope they get it figured out. I want them to play. I was so excited when I saw they signed Gerard Evans, from Virginia Tech. I think obviously, he'll come in out of shape, but I think him out of shape is still fun to watch to me. So I would really love to see Gerard Evans play in the NAL this year. He would be one of my top quarterbacks in the league, if I'm being honest. But we'll kind of move on to more positive news. Right, the NAL recently announced that they have a new betting partner, MyBookie. I'm a huge MyBookie fan. I've used it since I was 13 years old. It's an offshore gambling site, really fun to use, easy to use, very accessible. It's not a lot of gambling sites now with security reasons have long-term sign-up processes. Right, MyBookie is kind of straight to the point. Cody, I know you have a lot of information on MyBookie. I'm sure you use MyBookie too. So just tell me what you think about this groundbreaking partnership.
I don't know where you got that information because I've never necessarily heard of MyBookie in my life, but I do use betting sites every once in a while. I assume that this is no different than anything FanDuel, DraftKings, no free ads, sponsor us, damn it. But yeah, I feel like it's no different than that. It's something that's going to boost the NAL as they're getting more and more recognizable sponsorships. Like people have at least heard of MyBookie instead of like insert shady betting site, But it's good. It's a good idea. As we've all talked, you'll see murky waters with players bet. I myself, like I said, I used when it got legalized in Kansas, I was betting like crazy. I've definitely taken a step back from that. I hope it doesn't get to the point, and I'm not accusing, I'm not assuming or anything like that. I just hope it doesn't get to the point where like people talk about the NFL being rigged and all the betting stuff with that. I mean, I hope it never ever gets to that point. That's what I want to make. And I know there will be a lot of parameters and a lot of ramifications and fines and suspensions and people getting kicked out of the league if it ever gets to that. Don't get me wrong. You just hope it never, ever has to get to that. I know I'm going down the dark path, but the bright path is we've got a place for people to place bets and wagers and stuff like that for the NAL. So that's good if people want to do that.
Come on, man. You know me, man. You know me long enough by now. I've reached out to someone, so I ain't even gonna.
So I responded to him, and you can highlight Sam's comment too.
I reached out.
Sam was talking to the NAL commissioner. So
I talked to the coach that resigned. So yes, we've talked inside. So it's just a simple fact. Like it just doesn't look good with 3 coaches resign less than 6 months.
But no, so we'll highlight that a little bit. So I just want to focus on the MyBookie because I'm kind of excited about this. So I have an image here. So one of the things I kind of brought up, is like for me, and I think Cody, we spoke about this too. What is the league going to do to make sure players don't gamble on games? And this is in every league. So this is not an NAL thing. So I don't want them to get upset. Like this happened in the NBA. This happened in the NFL. This just happened yesterday in the MLB. It happens in every league. So what, the IFL, they really emphasize that, with the U.S. integrity, right? They partner with them, making sure no players, coaches, or personnel, or even family members can bet on indoor football league games. What steps, Cody, do you think the league can kind of take to ensure that doesn't happen?
Like I said, it's going to be a gray area. I mean, you can You can tell them not to bet. You can tell them not to do anything, but you can't tell their friends not to bet. You can't tell other people that they know not to bet because they're betting. The question that needs to be raised here, and it's something that's going along in college athletics, is they want to get rid of player props. And I don't know to the fullest extent of what the NAL wants to do. I know that for the longest of time, the Indoor Football League only did money line spread and over and under. And at some points, Todd Tryon was saying that they wanted to do like what happens at the first play of the game, or does this drive in a touchdown or a field goal or whatever. So they want to expand that kind of stuff. We'll see if it happens this season or in the future. So I don't know what the NAL wants to do with that, but if they add prop bets, then you're really going to muddy the waters with that. It also raises the question on prop bets too. If, so much roster turnover that happens between each team, what player plays each week, so I don't know. That's the gray area. We have not seen it in action yet, so I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit on it. But again, you have to consider those things. You have to have those things in your mind when this stuff happens. Like when this stuff gets announced, you have to think of the bad things and how to plug the holes the best that you can. Like I said, you can put in the contract as many times, do not bet, do not bet, do not bet. Whether you enforce it or not, or whether they do it or not, is a whole nother situation.
Like, how can you really monitor if a player is betting or if they have somebody else bet for them? You can't really monitor it because it's an offshore site, right? So it's kind of hard to get that data. So I like to see how this go too.
I hope they do passing yards over and under. I want full season passing totals. I think you can do that pretty consistently. The thing is, Cody, you hit it right on the nail with the roster turnover. I mean, how would you possibly do player props for every single game?
Well, the other thing about it too is players ask to be released quite a bit. So imagine you're a player, and again, I'm just going to use an example. I'm not trying to put anyone on blast or whatever like that. So you're a player from Colorado or from Pueblo or whatever, and you place a wager and you win your bet and it's on your team, and then you ask to be released. Are they going to trace that? Again, we're talking about murky waters here. Or you refuse to report or whatever the case could be. I mean, again, we're talking about some very murky waters. I don't want to ever see it happen, but you can't say that it won't happen. We see it in the big four leagues all the time.
And if it does happen, it's how you respond and learn.
Exactly.
From it, right? So it doesn't happen.
Exactly. Whether the guy gets suspended, gets kicked out, whatever the case could be. And again, I know there's going to be a lot of legalese in contracts, in the rule books, and everything like that. You just have to make sure that the guys that you are signing want to play ball and they don't want to win. Like, don't get me wrong, people want to make money, but they don't want to play ball just to place bets. They want to earn their paycheck. They want to move up in the ranks. They want to play ball. At the end of the day, you want to play football and you don't just want to bet.
Hey, Chris, that he just said that. So to piggyback off that, do you think they will reissue new contracts with sports betting stuff in there? Because they just brung it up. I don't know if it was already in the contracts or not.
What I could see going on is, and this is just my opinion, is them reissuing contracts to the final roster. Like when we get through training camp, I could see that 100% happening.
Yeah. It's like the comment you just brought up with Coach Davis too. Like we talked before the show started, like I don't think there's anyone dropping $250,000 on an NAL game or an IFL game. If they are, then that thing's going to get flagged pretty quickly. You can have those bets in the NFL. There's people that bet all the time on that. You see the Super Bowl bets and stuff, the big game. I don't know if we're going to get sued for that. My apologies if we do get sued. I don't have a lawyer. But yeah, if you see a $250,000 bet on the Omaha Beef against the Southwest Kansas Storm, that's going to raise a flag instead of someone betting $10. So yeah, I'm right there with you, Coach. There's got to be some parameters in place to make sure that you can crack down on some suspicious stuff like that.
I mean, I know for me personally, like I'm excited to bet this season. I'm betting Jordan Barton under 10 touchdowns and taking my $1 million, laughing my way onto the bank. So I'm excited for it. But I think Coach Davis is right. He's in the gambling capital of the world in Vegas, so he would know. I feel like better than anyone. But it's exciting to see what steps the NAL takes this season. My other thing that I wanted to point out with the NAL is next week the Pueblo Punishers. They play the Northern Colorado Nightmare, the Austin Falcons. That's a new team in Austin. There are too many teams in Texas. Let's just get this. Like, there's way too many teams. But Austin, they backed out of 2 games. I'm not surprised. It's a Tyrone Washington ran team, so that doesn't really surprise me. But for me, what do you think about Austin, Coach B? I know you're more connected down there, so what's your opinion about that?
Muted, bud.
Sorry, from what I got anyway, that Austin was just a filler team. They were a part of the NIL as a travel team or a fill-in team, I thought. So it doesn't bother me that they can't make it. With those things, normally 9 times out of 10, it's either they couldn't come up with all the funds to travel or something happened. He can't fill a lot of players. So I don't expect nobody to look hard on Austin because that's not an original NAL team. You know what I mean? They just a team that helps out the lead and fill in like an independent. So we all know what we getting when we get with the Falcons and their ownership group. So I don't think you should expect more. With Pueblo, they started camp this week. I think they should be in good hands. I don't know what's going on. I haven't heard anything. They've been pretty quiet. So hopefully everything going good down there and they have a great scrimmage game. I will be watching.
I'm excited. I've talked a lot about Pueblo, giving them a lot of shit, but I saw their coaching show they did, and that was something in itself. But I think for me, I like how they had Solo at the middle of the table and Tay off to the side. Kind of just it shows you the power setup, in my opinion.
Hey, I was going to ask that, Chris. If these coaches are suspended, suspension means you cannot be around the team or none of that. So why are these coaches allowed around the team, even though it's training camp and all that? Suspension is suspension, right? That should be upheld where they should not be around the team at all
Right.
because it gives a false narrative.
I think it's very hard, again, though, in these leagues. I think it's easier to monitor that on game day, but we'll get to that, Dave from Albany. We definitely talk about the Cincinnati team and the agent Ross and everything. But for me, it's hard because these leagues, maybe to follow that during the week or, before game day. But Tay will be suspended. Obviously, he's already suspended. But I'm excited for Pueblo because I saw some of their key players did, in fact, report to camp. So Aaron Dilworth, who's rumored to be suspended for the first week. Let's see, Tawan Ship, the star linebacker I've been talking about out of the Ohio Valley Conference, Seattle Seahawks minicamp guy just this past year. So there's a couple big-time players in Pueblo that I'm excited to watch next week and see how they do.
Chris Elmore, Rhino, he showed up. I'm glad to see him back on the field. Yeah, he's there. I talked to him. He's there. I think they got a great core nucleus of players.
Their defense, absolutely. Defense?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What they gonna do with it is up to them. Like the destiny is in Pueblo's hands because they put together a nice roster. Just got to make sure everything goes to par.
Yeah, I think when you spend all that money, right, the results are your expectation is to go to the playoffs. And I don't even, and I know what Cody's about to say, so we're gonna quickly move on from the subject before my
I feel better. I feel better about Pueblo with Tay being suspended than I do about Amarillo with the coach being suspended. I think that's bigger than Tay. I think Tay and them will be okay. I don't think Amarillo will be okay. Even bringing in J.A. Anderson, it's not going to save them, I don't think.
Yeah, they just don't, because the rumor in Amarillo is that the owner controls the roster down there. So if that is true, then I can see why. He's not doing a really good job about building the roster. So there's no really roster movement happening in Amarillo, in my opinion. So, but we'll move on. So any other NAL topics you guys want to talk about that stand out to you?
I just love what the NAL doing. They keep pushing, they keep moving. They take everything on the chin and keep shoving through. So NAL, Brandon Eicher, y'all keep doing what y'all doing.
Yeah, and like Austin, like just to clarify, Austin not connected to the NAL in any form, right? They're separate, completely semi-pro. I wouldn't expect anything else, unfortunately. Semi-pro is going to be semi-pro, so just there's different levels to it. But I still think Austin could beat Louisiana, but that's just my opinion. But I
don't think they would be able to beat the Bulls, honestly.
Oh yeah, no, with Gerard Evans, no way. But I went in to take a quick commercial. We'll come back, and Cody has a really special piece for you guys, so I cannot wait for you to see this masterclass.
Omaha Beef football, prime dancers, rump roasters, slaughterhouse. Are you ready? DJ next one. You ready? 3, 2, 1, go! Welcome to the Orange Kingdom. Yeah. Orange Kingdom. Welcome to the Orange Kingdom. Yeah. Orange Kingdom. Welcome to the starter house where we run it. Yeah, we really want it. Beef Nation, girl, I'm shaking. Got a ring and we flown it. Prime chances be on it. I bet the competition's no opposition. We come to take and we done it. Ricky is the chief saying, let's go Beef. Welcome to the Orange Kingdom. Yeah. Orange Kingdom. Welcome to the Orange Kingdom. Yeah. Orange Kingdom. Welcome to the slaughterhouse. Orange and black. About to win this. Defense stays on attack. You on our hit list. Like it, blocking and dumping, jumping out the gymnasium. You want to see the best? Meet us at the Beef Stadium. Yeah. Orange Kingdom. Welcome to the Orange Kingdom. Let's go Beef. Orange Kingdom. Slaughterhouse. Orange Kingdom. Prime dancers. Let's roll, baby.
Hey, Chris, before we do anything, I got to give a shout out to Ricky and them for that Orange Kingdom, getting Tech 9 to redo the song. KC Native, I love it, man. Brandon Jr.'s uncle, that was great, man. Good job on that, Ricky.
Yeah, Ricky and them are always setting the standard in the NAL, and I think, just another example of how they just keep growing the brand and bringing more exposure. So I'm really excited. And, great time to shout out what they're doing before we move on to Cody's masterclass. We talk about, what they're doing with the polar plunge and the Cancer Society and everything they're doing in the community. I think like they really care about community. A lot of organizations will preach, community fans, this and that. I haven't seen another NAL team do as much as Omaha is doing in the community. And I think that says a lot, honestly. So just, keep it up down there. I'm really.
They say the standard is the standard, buddy.
Yeah, and they follow it though. It's easy to sit there and say that, but it's difficult to follow that consistently, and I think they do a good job. But so, last week I put out my amazing work. I see a lot of people were commenting. My work got more views than some people's bank account, so it didn't really faze me. But I challenged Cody this week, and I asked Cody, I said, I think we were in some conversation, and you pulled up that you had a list, and I was like, I need to see this list. So This is the Indoor Football League. I'm gonna let you I want you to explain everything on this list.
Okay.
So
let's go for it. So yeah, Krish made his list, and I wanted to be a part of controversy too. So after the discussion, I told him I've got the 14 teams in the Indoor Football League in tiers of who I think can win a championship, who I think might win a championship, and who I think won't win the championship. Now, I want to have a disclaimer on here. Just because I think your team can win doesn't mean that they will. Just because I think your team might win doesn't mean that they will. And just because the team won't win Doesn't mean that they won't make the playoffs or make some noise or anything like that. So just because you are in the top does not mean that you are the godsend of the indoor football league. And just because you're at the bottom doesn't mean that you can't make noise and vie for a playoff spot. This is specifically for the championship. It's not playoffs. It's not a good season or a winning record. It is specifically for the championship. So what I have here in the top tier of the can, these are 4 teams that I think can or are poised to make a run at the championship this season: Arizona, Vegas, Fishers, and San Diego. I think the West just continues to be another beacon of championship caliber indoor football. Fishers, on paper right now, you look at their roster, what they've retained. They have a championship pedigree head coach. They have a system that we will see, because they kind of switch systems partway through this season, of power running team to more of a balanced style offense. They retain a buttload on defense. Fishers could be poised. I think they can win a championship. The might is obviously the biggest here, and we'll get to that one in a second, but I'm going to jump down to the very, very bottom. The won't. As I just stated, the won't doesn't mean that you won't make the playoffs or vie for the playoffs or anything like that. I just do not believe your teams, as of right now, are in a spot where you are a championship caliber team. That does not mean that you won't win games. That does not mean that you suck. It doesn't mean anything like that. It just means you will not win the championship this season. Simple as that. New Mexico being a brand new team, Northern Arizona only winning a couple of games, and Iowa in the same boat as well. I got to see it more this season. Iowa's made some noise, a lot of retention from last year's roster from Northern Arizona, and we just never know a brand new team. I mean, Fishers won 7 games last year. That's how we have it. The might is obviously the biggest what-if category. Some of these teams can get hot. Simple as that. I mean, you can see some teams, a lot of teams in the East, and this is what I've been saying for the last couple of weeks. I think the East is wide open. Any of those teams right now have an opportunity to go on a run. They might win a championship. I mean, Green Bay made it last season. We've seen, Orlando win championships. Jacksonville's won them in previous leagues, and they made the playoffs. Same with Tulsa and Quad City. Tucson's made the playoffs in years past. San Antonio, with their roster, could make noise. But again, this is how we do it.
I like the top tier of this, and I agree with the top tier. For me, Cody, I'm going to ask you about some specific teams. If you
Go for it.
Everybody except San Diego.
Really? Why not San Diego?
It seemed like it's the same team every year. Everybody it's Nate Davis. Nate Davis been in this thing for almost 20 years.
Coach B, San Diego's made the Western Conference Championship 2 years in a row, and for lack of a better term, they've had opportunities to win those games to go to the championship.
A different coaching staff too. They had a different coaching staff too.
They still have the same head coach. They still had Nate Davis. They still had playmakers offensively and defensively.
I'll give Green Bay the edge over them.
I would not, with what Green Bay has lost with Max Myler and Kaimane Clark. You're refilling 2 skill positions right there. Lowell Patron is over to Jacksonville.
Andre Williams, TJ Davis, 6 out of 8 offensive starters.
TJ Davis is in the CFL, and I think they still retain his rights, but whether or not he wants to come back is his own volition. I mean, their defense should be good. They've brought in a lot of former Bay Area Panthers. So again, if they can plug and play, fantastic. But it's a wait and see for me. That's why I have Green Bay in the might. Like I said, they're not gonna dovetail down and be the worst team in the league. But I also think they're going to take a little bit of a step back here. That's not to say they can't get hot. I didn't think they'd win or go to the championship last year, and look at what they did. So there's my reasoning.
So I have to ask you though about Tucson.
Yeah.
What do you like about their roster, in your opinion?
What I like about Tucson's roster is what they've done with obviously the coaching staff first and foremost, but what they have kind of at wide receiver and what they kind of have in the secondary. They retain a lot. And again, this is all fluid with roster cuts. We got the 40-man rosters. You got to dwindle that down to 25. So we'll truly see what goes on. The issue that I have with Tucson is they lost a lot of their defensive line, who's now, I believe, all over at Tulsa. But they keep Brooks. They sign Rafiq Abdul-Wahid. And in the secondary, they've got Ahmad Lyons, who is one of their better players. Breon or Brian Murray, however you pronounce it. Breon
Murray, one of the best players in the back end.
Yeah, I've heard it pronounced both ways. So Breon. Kendrick Gladney coming back, Ryan Nixon coming back, and he had a stint with Tulsa last season as well. And then Aaron Jackson being brought over from Fishers. He's been all around. I do like what the secondary has. My question with Tucson, what do you do at the quarterback position? That is going to be the biggest question mark. If they can hammer that, then I think Tucson can be put in the might. That's the issue I had, because I had a previous picture of this where I put Tucson in the won't. That's probably the biggest question mark for me right now. There's an opportunity for Tucson to make a run, go to the playoffs, but I could also see them being kind of a team that could fall on their face a little bit and lose some games that they probably should win. We
I
just don't
think
know.
they
They're a huge
offense,
wild card.
they only gonna go as far as they offense take them. And we got to see what Coach Fuller does as an OC. Is he going to be a better OC than Billy Back was last year? What is he going to do different than Billy did with that offense? So I think that team really only goes as far as Coach Fuller and that offense takes them.
Right. And it was 2 seasons ago when they went through like 4 or 5 different quarterbacks, and I can't remember the kid from Ferris State. His name's escaping me. Malik Mitchell. Thank you. But they had him for a couple of games, and then they pretty much just played quarterback roulette after that, and he played pretty well, all things considered. And again, can Tucson get back to their winning ways? It's new ownership, new coaches, not new players, but new players to the extent, you know what I mean? They are a huge wild card for me. Like I said, on one end of the spectrum, I can see them making some noise, upsetting some teams, winning the games that they probably should win, making a run of the playoffs and getting in. On the other end, I can see them, like I said, losing games that they probably should win, and then they're just kind of back in that 6-10, 7-9 middling tier where it's like, man, had you just won a couple more games, you could have done something better.
The question is out on NAZ. What do you guys really think about NAZ this year?
Well,
Chris, I know you like them.
Let me answer Coach Davis.
I like this.
I would say Ramon Atkins is a better quarterback, definitely, especially with what he's had. I think with a brand new system that Northern Arizona had last season, and what Northern Arizona has coming back, they could make some noise. I'd almost put Tucson and Northern Arizona in the same kind of categories, but I'm just not sold since Northern Arizona only won 2 games last season. They bring back a lot of players. They bring back their coaching staff, or most of it, and you're asking me to say they're going to get better based on a 2-win season. I think they can get better, but is it better than Tucson? I just don't know yet. So like I said, that's where I have it.
My thing is,
Exactly.
I'm not confident with Ron James calling the offense. If this was the AFL, yes, they would be a top contender to me. But in the IFL, with not an adequate play caller on offense, that's the only thing that scares me about NAZ. I don't care what you got.
I think Northern Arizona losing Arlen Bruce is a huge thing. They do bring back Nolan Susel, and that's fine. Kobe Smith and Marlon Cook, fine additions. Their offensive line should be good. It's defensively too, and I know Jeff Higgins being hired. That's a huge boon, like what Coach Davis is saying. That's a huge boon to Northern Arizona. That should help them out dramatically. Defensively, they do sign a couple of players, but I don't know, man. Like I said, you're playing in the West. That's very, very tough. Northern Arizona's schedule could be a little bit favorable. We'll see how it goes, but I know Coach Davis has been harping on Northern Arizona to be better this season, and I agree with him. I just don't know how much better. I think Tucson might be a couple games better than Northern Arizona. We'll see how it goes.
Okay, so I kind of want to dive into this, Cody, if you don't mind. Kind of take a look at, each tier. So I'll start with the won't, right? So for me, I'm high on Northern Arizona too. I think Ramon, and the reason why is you get Ramon for a full season. You were 0-8 and then Ramon showed up. And yes, he went 2-6 in his time as starter, but he went against some really high-level teams. Northern Arizona also has a very favorable schedule, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So I have them getting 8 to 9 wins this season. And I think with Jeff Higgins, his ability, and he's not coming in as a play caller. You know what I mean? That's what a lot of people are missing. Like, he's being added to staff as a receivers coach. So he's not going to be calling plays. So his responsibility is limited. So he just needs to focus on the receivers. And that's what he's good at. That's his bread and butter, right? He was a receiver. He was a great receiver back in the AF2, and he's coached receivers for a really long time. If you look at his time with the Orlando Predators, back in 2021, that receiving core was top 3 in the league in receiving yards, and they had moving pieces. So he can coach with the best of them with receivers, in my opinion. Another opinion for me is that Arizona, Vegas, Indy, and San Diego are all championship contenders, and they're in the can. 100% I agree. So I see Ben's comment about my Orlando Pirates. I love my Orlando Pirates. Cut me open, I'll bleed blue and green. But I need to be realistic about where we are, right? This offseason, we have 27 guys signed, and 9 of them are defensive linemen. So when I look at that, I said, okay, Gerard is putting a priority on the defensive line, which there's no issue with that. But what are we looking at the quarterback position? I like Talia. I think Talia can be really good in this league, but I would be delusional if I can name 9 to 10 quarterbacks in this league right now that are better than him. And that's just the reality fact right now. Not saying he can't be a top 5 quarterback in the league by the end of the season, but right now there's 8 to 9 quarterbacks better than him. So he needs to come in and prove that he's a top level player in the league. He hasn't proven anything yet. So I would agree. I think we're in the mic. 100% we're in the mic. We need a couple more moves to be in that can. It's at the quarterback position and other positions too on the field. Jacksonville, James Cahoon. I like James Cahoon. I think he's really reckless with the football, and I think that's why they brought in another quarterback, which we'll talk about here soon. Green Bay, Liam Thompson coming in. I don't mind that move at all. But I think you look at the receiver room they have, Cody, the Drayson Hudson coming over from Sioux Falls. He wasn't anywhere last season, so he's coming in. And then they got Trayvon Alexander from Bay Area coming in as well. Like, they got a nice little receiving core. But their receivers, combined last year, averaged 15.8 yards per reception, right? Liam Thompson averaged 7 yards per attempt. So I'm a little concerned about that disconnect with that Green Bay offense. Like, do they really fit what they're trying to do offensively? Tulsa, TJ Edwards, you never count TJ out. So I don't mind that move. He needs 1 to 2 stops a game, most games, to be competitive and realistically.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's for any of those, Orlando, they do bring back quite a bit of veteran talent, or at least players that played last season. So it's a new coaching staff for them. We know what Rob Keefe is capable of and what they've brought in down there in Orlando. I mean, I like what they can do. It's a 1-year hiatus for Orlando when it comes to, missing the playoffs and getting back to it. We'll see if they can. Green Bay, like you mentioned, the wide receiving core is good. The defense should be good. It's just, how do you replace the MVP and how do you replace Kaimani Clark? And was it last season they had Jalen Cagle? Like, they had a very nice 1-2 punch at running back. And they don't have that right now. They're going to rely on some rookies when it comes to the running back position. We'll see how it goes. Jacksonville, I like what James Cahoon is capable of. I don't want to say it's very like arena footballish, but we know James Cahoon was a product of his environment last year with Iowa, just air raid. If Jimmy Robinson's injury is done and his leg is better from his ACL or his knee or whatever it was, you can definitely take a lot of pressure off of that passing game and use Robinson as your rusher, and he's a very good receiver and return man. Robinson could be the focal point of that Jacksonville offense to take some heat off of Cahoon, which allows him to throw it to Patron or any of the other wide receivers who are escaping me. Hold on a second while I look it up because this is bad press. Karan Ashley and Kevin Davis and whoever. So, or Markel Wade too, if he actually plays. So Jacksonville should be good. The defense is a little question mark to me. San Antonio is loaded, but just because you have talent doesn't mean that it translates. That's where I think it's different between San Antonio and San Diego. San Diego retains a lot of talent, but you saw a lot of that talent in San Diego doing what they do. I want to see it with San Antonio. I've hyped San Antonio the last couple of seasons to make the playoffs, only for them to be kind of middling. So I want to see what they can do. I hope they can.
And they got a fresh rookie staff. Like, their whole staff is rookie coaches. So that's going to be a factor too. We got to look at.
Rookie in the sense of like maybe new positions, but Bain was with San Antonio last season. So he knows that he knows about it. So I'm not saying that I'm not saying he's not fresh, but he knows the environment a little bit. So we'll see what he can do with it. I'm excited to see what he's doing. And then Tucson, I've kind of said my piece about that. And then finally, the team I root for in Quad City. Yeah, they're just going to win the championship and everyone else can just be mad. So I'm just kidding. No, Quad City comes back with a very, very good defense. What they retain on the defensive line and in the secondary, I think they bring back their entire secondary. It's incredible. And they bring back Darian Jackson, who played with them a couple seasons ago. So you can only have so many bodies out there. It's going to be huge. Offensively, I saw on their website that Ivory Scott was on the offensive line. So add that to Joel Crowell. I mean, that offensive line should be good. Jared Ware, Keon Mosey, the running backs, with DeQuan Neal at the quarterback position. It's just who is going to be that wide receiver to step up opposite Kevon Rudd and Jordan Vesey. That is a huge question mark. And
I don't see it.
Who replaces Bubba Arslanian in the linebacker position? Because that man was a beast the last couple of seasons. Those are my question marks. So
they kind of remind me. Quad City reminds me of the old Buffalo Bills. They always gonna get there, but they can't get over the hump.
Why are you hating right now? Why are you hating right now? No, like I said, it's going to take a lot to get over the hump. And that's the thing that sucks about the East.
But I think Cody is saying, like, with you guys, Coach Ross, in my opinion, is one of the best coaches in the country. So that's me. I think highly of him and his ability to find talent. Yeah, like I said, Quad City.
You got to find a way to win the big game, though. Elmer, he could be a great coach, but the last couple of years, he hasn't found a way to win the big game.
I mean, Quad City has made one championship in the Indoor Football League, and they've gotten close with first-round playoff wins and can't get it done in the Eastern Conference Championship or bow out early. So, like I said, can they get over the hump? That's going to be a huge question to ask. We've seen Green Bay do it. We've seen Orlando win the championship. Iowa has won a championship.
Oh, hell no. Hell no. I see this comment from Coach Davis now. Okay. You want to get me started early? All right. Okay.
Yeah,
what's his record? What's the record
No. Chris, calm down, Chris. Calm down.
You want to put 70 and 48 all time. So clearly he's doing something right. So that's I'm not going to go too much into that, but
what's his record?
70 and 48.
And he has the same amount of championships as Vegas, and they just won one.
Anyway.
That's where the disconnect at, Chris. You lost the battle right there.
But anyway, so San Antonio, I like San Antonio's team. I think they're doing some good things. I think Jonathan Bain is a first-year play caller. I think they also just signed Fred Payton. So Fred Payton leaves Albany. He goes to San Antonio. I think that's an interesting move, in my opinion. I'm kind of shocked that he went back.
They got 5 quarterbacks now?
They got 4 quarterbacks. They got James Graham from Georgia Tech, Dante Santos, Duquan Colazzo, and Fred Payton. So 4. But
like what San Antonio has right now, I wouldn't say like cream of the crop by any means, but what they have, they do kind of have their pick of the litter. They've got quick side note, what I consider veteran is different than obviously what the veteran rule is. I consider someone a veteran if they played 1 or 2 years in the Indoor Football League or have any sort of experience like that. Like, the game or a little bit of it. So what San Antonio has right now are a lot of guys that have played a season or two. They know the ins and outs. Can that translate? Terry Beckner coming over from Massachusetts is going to help that defensive line. Same with Lee Autry coming over from Vegas. That secondary looks great with Marcus Floyd and Matt Elam. And then the wide receiver positions, Austin Upshaw, Glenn Gibbons. I mean, they are just staples. They bring in LaDamian Webb and Justin Stockton at the running back position. Can those guys do better than what Keyshawn Harper did? What is the offensive identity going to look like? Is it more air raid style offense, or are you going to try and balance it out a little bit? Offensive line looks decent. We'll see how it goes.
Stockton is a game changer, man. We talked about him 2 years ago, didn't we, Chris, when I was recruiting him to Iowa?
I'm not barking, bro. I'm not barking, coach. Come on. I just was responding, man. I think my boy does a pretty good job, but that's my opinion.
But you got to look at, you said it, 70 and 48, and only what? How many championships? And he has mostly every year the best roster, majority of the best roster. So,
Coach Davis, you know what I mean about air raid, where it's like the wide receivers playing, or the running backs playing wide receiver, they're throwing it deep. You're doing kind of like the Iowa offense of last year, where you're barely running it. Like, if it wasn't for Sam Castronova a couple seasons ago using his legs, like San Antonio was the epitome of an air raid style indoor offense. I mean, you know what I mean by that, and that's not like a dig at you or anything.
I like
That's what I consider air raid. Is you guys are throwing it more than you're running it. They never really had a running game the last couple of seasons. Keyshawn Harper could only do so much.
I do want to break some news about Tucson, and I want to get you guys' thoughts. They signed Draylon Ellis out of Tennessee State University. Do you guys know anything about him, and are you excited about that move, Cody?
I mean, we'll see. Like I said, you can sit there and say this player's good, this player's good, this player's good. Like we've been waxing poetic about it for all of these teams in like the last 15, 20 minutes. So is it a good signing? Yeah. I mean, anything to get bodies into your 40-man training camp roster. Does he make the roster? That's another question. Does he start? That's another question. So again, I'm going to say it's a good signing for right now, but if he doesn't take the field, I don't necessarily think bust in the indoor football league, but at the same time, you're like, he missed an opportunity.
So I want to point out something about Draylon Ellis, and I'm gonna let you go, Coach B, but he averages 6.8 yards per completion. That's not the thing for me. The thing is he has over 200 registered rushing attempts in college, and he only averaged 1.6 yards per carry. So, Coach B, what does that tell me? That tells me that he takes a lot of sacks.
Yes. Like that's not good numbers right there.
So that means he can run.
Yeah, and then not even that. I had to learn with the Rampage and with Wichita. No matter how many big name players you get, I done seen some big name players, ex-NFL players, or players who supposed to be first round draft picks coming to camp and get blew out by a rookie or somebody coming straight out of college. It's about who's hungrier, who's more, prepared.
I do have one point, though, I want to bring up. Cody, I have a question for you. Duke City, when they had Hassan Rogers, what would you say their offensive identity was?
Ooh. It was a mix. I think. It was like an RPO offense.
It's very tough to say because Hassan Rogers only played a couple of games. Because it was at the same year that they had Joe Mancuso as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
And a couple of other guys. No, that was before when they had Demery Croft. No, was Croft in there?
Yeah, he was in there too.
Was he the starter at the beginning of the season?
Year before.
I'm trying to remember if he was the starter at the beginning of the season, and then he got benched for Mancuso, but that I might be molding two seasons together. I don't know what their offensive identity is because half the time, and this is going to sound like a dig, but half the time you didn't know what the hell Duke City was doing in the first place. I mean, as bad as it sounds, like to Coach B's credit, they signed McDowell, the defensive lineman that was with the Browns. Was it McDowell?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
McDowell.
Yeah. I mean, he was, for all intents and purposes, he was good, but the talent didn't resonate from NFL to IFL. I mean, there were some times where he looked like a game wrecker. There were some times where he was completely stopped by an FCS or D2 offensive lineman. So again, and that's not a shot at the guy. It's just the rules are different. The rules
and I do say, Cody, the environment. It depends on what environment they put in. Because if you're not comfortable with your environment around, I don't think you're gonna play good either.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's a lot of things to take into factors. And I know you love the big signings, Chris, but I'd rather take a big under the radar guy from an FCS or something like that over a big time signing. Because you don't have the attitude and the swag with it.
It's in my opinion, though. They wouldn't have added someone, that close to camp, like Draylon Ellis from Tennessee State, the quarterback room, if they didn't feel a type of way about the quarterback room. That's just my opinion.
And it also just to get an extra body. You want to be as competitive as possible at the quarterback position. So I don't care what time it is. I'm going to bring in, if I see something I think can push my other quarterbacks, I'm going to bring them in. Because you want to get the right guy.
They have Tamoy and Terry, though. You know what I mean? Tamoy and Terry, the deep threat.
Names is names. You got
to. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
When you look at Duke City of the past, when you look at some of the names that they had, whether it was Tamar Hart, who's now with Fishers, Aaron Jackson, who's now with
Dillo Davis.
I mean, they had Dillo Davis and Nate Davis with that huge connection that they had for a couple of years, and then, Greg Dent, Hassan Rogers, Demery Croft. I mean, you can rattle off names left and right. Dante Ogburn on the offensive line. Mason Newton on the defensive line. Like, you can go through and name names. That doesn't like when a player that I think that just got out, like Tamar Hart. Look at what he's doing at Fishers right now. That started at Duke City. He was very good for Duke City, and he shined with.
He was good for Omaha too, though.
Exactly, that too. I was speaking specifically IFL, but I know what you're talking about. I do. I'm not trying to discredit that either.
No, because he had an even better season with Omaha than he had with Duke City.
Right. Yeah. Since he went from Duke City to Omaha to Fishers. So yeah, I get what you're saying. I do. But yeah, you look at someone like Aaron Jackson, who, yeah, I saw that guy get stretchered off, and then he's back playing the next week and balling out, dude. Like, it's insane how sometimes you are the product of your environment, and what happens. You're like, man, this kind of ragtag group of guys, like Coach B's alluded to, like
Coach
if they're all hungry, they're gonna go.
What did Coach Davis say now? Coach B should be a better line on New Mexico since they haven't.
Well, he actually wasn't my OC. He was my quarterbacks coach. But I played with him back in the day when we both were in the IFL. He was my backup quarterback for Cedar Rapids. We both played for Coach Kyle Moore Brown before. So he knows Kyle Moore Brown well. He knows the IFL game. So
well, you won that 3. You won that 3-11 Cedar Rapids team.
It don't matter what record we was on, brother. We was on there.
Yeah, it's all about the brotherhood with Coach Brown. But anyway, so
hold on. No, you didn't. Did y'all coach not show up to camp last year? All right, just checking. All right, thank you. And that's my homeboy too, one of the better coaches in the league, Amir Ishmael. So it had to be something.
Okay. But anyway, so we'll wrap this up. I got a couple more moves to read off. I'll put them all in a line. So Deron Maxwell leaves New Mexico and goes to the LFA. That boy be in Mexico so much. I think he has some secret ties down there or something. But Devontae Davis goes to the UFL, defensive lineman on the Florida Atlantic. Leave Jacksonville, going to the UFL. Jacksonville has lost like 4 or 5 players to higher leagues. I don't count that as development too if they haven't played a snap. Teldrick Ross. So he was signed with San Diego. We let him go. He signed with San Diego, and he moved up. I saw them put out this, Coach Shaq down there, the DC defense coordinator this year, president of the strike force, put out this long thing on Facebook. Oh my God, he has such a good character. I'm so proud of him. He's probably spoken to him once on the phone. I saw T. Ross in person. I know why T. Ross got the opportunity to move up. He's very coachable and a very, very humble, good guy. So he's very quiet. He does his job. He'll do well in the UFL. I'm excited for him to get that opportunity. Todd Simmons. There were reports that Todd Simmons is going to camp with the Rough Riders. Todd Simmons is a certified attention seeker, so he's not going to camp with the Rough Riders. He's going to try out. So we're not even going to focus on Todd Simmons. I'm not even going to waste my energy on him. Although I did see he was listed on Quad City's roster. So I'm really hoping he would play with Quad Cities.
Well, like I said, we had a discussion about him like a month or 2 ago, and whether it was Coach B or someone saying like he couldn't leave Texas due to some legal stuff or something, and suddenly he's on Quad City's roster when I'm looking it up. Yesterday, getting ready for all the Indoor Football League team previews, which, shameless plug, those will be out starting this upcoming weekend. So go check out my channel for that. But yeah, so I saw that.
I heard he's getting flew out to games. Whoever team he played with, he's going to get flew out on game days. That's what he told me.
I mean, if he's on Quad City's roster, we can transition it this way. You won't know because the transactions page doesn't exist on the Indoor Football League's new website. So we can transition over to that because they're getting everything situated with that as the season starts to approach when it comes to the IFL.
I mean, my opinion on that, and I want, I know you have some thoughts about it, Coach B, too, is like I want the Indoor Football League to get all the ducks in a row, which they are doing. So it might take time for them to upload a page, but the new website does look great. The layout looks great. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah,
it does. But for them to be the standard, they should have had this already done before they even rolled it out. It should have been done on the back end and already done. If you want to be the big dog, you got to move like the big dog. Well, you got to pay to play.
Yeah, to put it into perspective too, this is the second time they've tried new websites. because they tried it last season before the start when they introduced the Indoor Football League Network, because Fishers and Green Bay had new websites. Those eventually got reverted back to the old ones. So they've had this thing in plan for a year or two now. It kind of sucks how everything is just kind of just up against the wall when it comes to that. The thing that always gets me is this is the second time since the start of the new year that the transactions page has been wiped. So unless you've been keeping updated rosters like I have for like the last few years or so, you don't know who's playing where. You have to go check out the team's websites, and the team's websites sometimes can be very shoddy, but I will give credit where credit is due. Some of these teams have updated their websites, and they've updated their rosters. They've updated their website. So I have to give kudos and credit where it's due, because that at least shows that these teams are going in the right direction, that they actually want to promote their product to look professional. That's all I want this league to do, is market and promote itself. I mean, not necessarily lipstick on a pig, but they're moving in the right direction when it comes to this. And that's what I want. So yeah, the stats aren't there. The transactions page isn't there, but it's a brand new website. I know we preach patience and stuff like that. It kind of sucks how it's done that, but at the same time, I do want to give kudos and credit where it's due. The website looks amazing. The team websites look amazing. If all the bugs get worked out, it's going to look great. And I think that's what we all want.
Before we go to our last little section, I know we were going to talk about something. I want to say this to everybody who get in arena football and want to be a GM or a president. It is not for player personnel. That's what you have a head coach for. Don't hire a coach if you want to coach the team as a GM. Unless you were hired as a GM and a head coach, that player personnel is to the head coach of the team, because they got to coach the players. When you get in arena football as a GM or a president, be prepared to run the front office, get sponsorships, help the front office run right so the team can operate. Don't get it in with the mindset like an NFL, oh, I control player personnel and all that. That's not a big market for that. So I think the perception out here, general managers get in here thinking they're going to build rosters and do all that. No, that's not the NFL. You're supposed to build sponsorship, partner relationships, and make sure the team runs afloat, especially if you ain't got a team president. So for people who don't understand that.
To highlight Texas Pete's comment too, excuse me. We've seen this go both ways in the Indoor Football League. We've heard from Commissioner Tryon that they've wiped their transactions page in years past because of the poaching. And at the point, it was like AFL 3.0 and CIF and NAL and stuff like that, poaching players. That's the reason why they froze their transactions page like a couple years ago, because hold training camps and stuff like that, and then their players would get poached. So I'm not saying it didn't happen. It clearly did. But that didn't happen last year. They kept that transactions page up and going. And so it's like, I'm not saying it's hypocrisy, but it's one of those things where it's like, well, is it the training camp poaching or is it not the training camp? Like, which one is it? Because every league is going to get poached with players. Yeah. It's just the nature of the beast. Someone's going to offer more money. Someone's going to offer you a starting spot. Someone's going to offer you more of a local, depending on where your local ties are, someone's going to do that. So again, not to say that they wipe the transactions page. It could be that, training camp is a week away for Green Bay, Fishers, Quad City, and Vegas, because the season starts in a couple weeks. So
not even that.
We don't know.
NAL always did it the last 2 years. They don't put their transactions up until week 1. So the whole offseason transactions is off because of poaching. It happens all the time. And coaches, just because you sign a player, unless he report to training camp, that's not your player if he signs somewhere else. Yeah. Don't get mad.
Yeah. So like I said, to credit Coach Davis, it's one of those things where we've heard it from the commissioner saying, hey, they're poaching players and stuff. So it's like, okay, let's take his word for it. But then it didn't happen last season. So it's like concrete versus non-concrete. It, again, like I said, players are going to get poached regardless. It's happening. It's been happening. You just got, like, if you are good at recruiting, if you are good at getting players on your side, you've got a chance. So
Coach B, I don't know how our boy Ben McCoy is staying up at night with the IFL website down. But nah.
Hey, I saw a question in there. It said, should GMs have sales background? Of course.
Absolutely.
That's what in arena football, that's what GMs do. They sell. They go get sponsorships and partnerships. It help the front office bring in dollars to obtain a team. They're not there to build a roster. They're not there for player development. That's the coach's job. That's what you hire a coach for. Unless you're the GM and the head coach, then you have to sell and build your roster. But most
Exactly.
GMs, if you come in, you should have a sales background. Presidents, if you come in, you should have a sales background because y'all have to make everything else afloat and work. You shouldn't be worried about players or player development or anything as a GM in arena football.
And that's the thing I kind of love about this sport is that the coaches really take like a college approach with it. Like you have to go and recruit. Like you have to go and find your quote 5 stars. You have to go and find those players that you think can fit your scheme. While the GMs, well, it's now more or less in college where the GMs in college with all this NIL stuff are there for the administration to sell your product, to get that NIL money to the players. And while it's not NIL money in the professional sense, it's more or less like, hey, we're trying to make sure that our product can be seen on the field while the coaches take care of the players and all of that stuff. We're making sure that we get squared away with everything else on the other end. So I understand exactly what you're saying.
No, Coach Davis, no, I'm not saying that, but I am saying during recruiting, this has happened. You know, I've been a player too. Once you sign, other coaches still gonna contact you. And players, it ain't no disrespect to the team you sign with. Players just gonna go where the better opportunity is. You got some coaches who will not touch a player who signed to a team, but you got some coaches who will, and you got some players who still sign who will reach out to other teams and coaches trying to find a better opportunity. So at the same thing, it goes hand in hand. It ain't about
6, 7.
signing somebody. It ain't about signing somebody who's under contract. If they really wanted to be there, they'd be there, and that's just real talk.
So we'll take one more commercial. We'll wrap this up. We got one final topic for today, and Coach B is going to have a lot of insight on this. So excited. So, 2 things. Cody, we'll start with you and Coach B. So, big news out of Jacksonville. Sammy Edwards out of Valdosta State, quarterback, was in camp with the New York Giants. Previously, this past season, was an assistant running back or analyst down at Western Kentucky. He's coming out of semi-retirement, and he's going to be joining the Jacksonville Sharks to go ahead and compete with James Cahoon. What do you think about this move, Cody?
No, it's not just James Cahoon. Blaine Espinosa is down there too. Put some respect on his name.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
But yeah.
We'll see. Like I said, the way that I kind of see Jacksonville is I don't want to label the quarterback as game manager because I think that label gets tossed around too much. But like I said, if you have Jimmy Robinson being the focal point of your offense and you've got good wide receivers in Karan Ashley and Lowell Patron and Markel Wade and whoever ends up being the guys, you kind of just have to be that game manager. I like Cahoon. I have not seen enough of Sammy to make an opinion. If he beats out Cahoon, then that will kind of raise my eyebrows a little bit just based on what I've seen last season. But at the same time, it's kind of what Coach B said just a minute ago. Like, you want guys to be able to push each other. You want to bring guys into camp that can push each other, and you want the best of the best. If Sammy can provide that, great. If Blaine Espinosa can provide that, great. If James Cahoon can provide that, great. That just means that Jacksonville's on the up and up, and they'll be over 4.5 wins like Krish is predicting.
What do you think about this move, Coach B?
I think it's a good move. Like I said, you need anything at any arena team, minimum 3 quarterbacks to camp to compete for 2 spots. So I don't think it's doing nothing wrong. I think they just adding competition. It's a lot nowadays. I've seen a lot of players feel like they entitled to have the spot or start. So you gotta get them out that mind frame and that mindset. So bring in as many dogs as you can at each position, and just the best dog win. That's how I feel.
So there was news that came out of your beloved franchise, or I don't know if it's still beloved for you, Coach, but your St. Joe Goat. They named the new GM, Aiden Moza. You know, he's a second-year, employee with them. What do you think about that hire for the Goats?
I think it's great. He been an intern with us for a couple years. He does a lot. He does everything around the building. Reward the people who are loyal to you, and I think they're doing that, and they're showing that. Move up within instead of bringing the outsider in, somebody who doesn't know the market. That's big when you're doing a GM or a sales. I think it should be somebody who actually knows the market. That way, it can help you with sales, help your team navigate, build new relationships that you never thought could be had there. So I think that's a great move.
So I think it's a good move, and for me, I think it just shows, you know, the goats are looking for stability, so they promote someone. They promote a younger person. I hope it works out for him and them. I know it's a big year for them on the field.
What about the IAL today, man? We heard some news yesterday
Yeah,
coming from the IAL. Adrian Ross, GM, resigned. He said he didn't think the role was what he thought it was. And I just think that goes back to me saying I think he wanted to be more player personnel and like an NFL type of GM, and he don't understand he has to be in the community, selling, help building. And I think people don't get that when it comes to arena football. GMs should be building up the front office. If you got a great GM, you're gonna have a full front office staff. If you got an okay GM, it's just gonna be him. That's just the nature of the matter. So you GMs quit worrying about football and worry about making the money.
100%. And I think, we Cody had said his spill on the international really before, and I completely agree with him. I think it's a waste of time, man. It's not going to happen. It's going to fold, and the thing is, like, I respect, I lose a lot of respect for people. I lost all the respect I had even left for Mook Zimmerman. I think Mook is a self-promoter. I think he needs to take off his sunglasses. It doesn't look professional. I think Cy Burley, Snick Saya, right? Like, you go to Northern Arizona, you have the last ranked offense in the league, and then you just disappear to Utah, and now you start stealing players, just for fun. And then Deshaun King, I think, he couldn't really find another spot to go to, so, he just wanted to go. And so, I don't know, man.
I think Saya is a great hire, but some of these other hires in that Saya and Coach Johnson, I think, are great hires. Coach Johnson should have been a head coach before a lot of people. But these other coaches don't have proven records. In the TAL, Mook lost all season until the playoffs. He lost damn near every game. He won 2 games in the TAL. Sean King, he hasn't had a winning record as a coach since the last 2 stops he's been as a head coach. So how are they vetting these coaches and getting these guys in there? Is it about who you know or what you know? And that's another thing. I hate that we keep recycling the same coaches. It's a lot of new young coaches that need chances. I know you owners feel comfortable with these old names and old coaches in these leagues. Start looking. It's players who develop. It's players with same drive as these old coaches. Give them a chance. It ain't all about recycle. I see everybody got a list of the same coaches. If we keep recycling the same coaches, how is the game going to evolve?
Okay, I'm going to give you an insightful question to wrap this up. If you guys had to pick, give me 3 to 4 guys in the IFL that you believe could be head coaches next year in 2027, who would it be? Cody, I'll start with you.
You say 3 to 4?
Yeah.
Well, we've already gotten kind of confirmation that there's going to be 2 expansion teams from Strictly a Business. So you're going to have to fill 2 expansion team head coaching spots. Does he follow in his dad's footsteps? Do you go out and get Peyton Riggs from Arizona? That is a huge wild card for me. I would love to see that. At least 2. Okay, Coach Davis, I see what you're doing. I have it on good authority from Kathy Trinkler on Strictly Business that there were 2 already signed and sealed. But anyway, I would personally like to see Peyton Riggs just to follow in his dad's footsteps. That'd be number 1. Number 2, I don't know if they're ready for it or not, but you've seen Curtis Chin's been a head coach before, but that's a retread. I'm trying to think of someone who hasn't been a head coach before.
But I don't think Chin was given a fair shot. I think he deserves a fair shot as a head coach.
To each their own. I mean, I understand where you're coming from with it, so I get it. Ownership and some murky gray areas with that.
And I want to point out, Chin won 9 games in his first year in Tucson.
Right.
Billy Mack won 8 games in 2 years. That's his
right.
league.
But like I said, you can go through, Billy Back, Curtis Chin, Adam Shackelford, names these names that have been head coaches before, but I'm like these, like Coach B said, these are retreads. I'm trying to think of coaches that haven't been a head coach before. If we're talking young guys,
even then, I wouldn't recycle some of the old coaches.
I mean, do you go and see if you can get a head coach with the offensive coordinator from Green Bay? It's escaping me. Bernhardt.
I like him. I actually like him. He's smart. I think he would be a good head coach.
Look at what he's done the last couple of seasons with Max Myler. I mean, do you go and try him? So, like, again, it's not necessarily a retread, but he's been around the game. He knows what he's doing. So if I had
deserves to be a head coach again.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is if we're talking not retreads, kind of go along some of these new guys, whether it's Peyton Riggs or Bernhardt, excuse me, if that's how it's pronounced. I would like to see stuff like that. Other than that, like I said, you're probably going through retreads. You're probably going to look at Billy Back again. You're probably going to look at Curtis Chin again. You're probably going to look at Adam Shackelford or someone like that if they even want to do it. We don't know.
Rod Windsor, he deserves a chance to be a head coach. I think he does. It's a few other guys who deserve it.
There's
are they going to get it though? It's a fraternity. I heard you. If you haven't coached in the IFL, you can't get a head coaching job in the IFL.
That's all. That can also be true. I mean, look at Kyle Moore Brown at New Mexico this season. Never
he's always been a losing head coach. So I don't know how he keeps getting head coaching jobs.
Your word, not mine. But again,
I'm just being honest. I played for him and we lost.
I know.
So I know. I'm like, it surprised me.
I get that. What I'm saying is like, it's someone fresh. Like you can't sit there and talk out of both sides of your mouth and sit there and be like, we need new guys. But then here's a guy who's had very little coaching experience and then sit there and be like, well, he sucks. It's like, well, give him a chance. You need Curtis Chin to have a chance. You need these guys to have a chance. Otherwise, you're stuck with the retreads. So,
and I'm willing to give Jonathan Bain a chance. I'm willing to because I think if he,
I like Bain. Yeah,
he went 7
again, yeah, and we
playoffs.
That's how it is, man. I mean that. You got to give them a chance. If they fizzle out, you can give them a second chance. I mean, that happens all the time in the NFL. And then, I mean, you end up like Arthur Smith with the Falcons.
I think Reggie Gray should be a head coach. Maurice Purify should get a head coaching job. These guys who actually know the game and proved it.
Yeah, exactly. Rod Miller 100% should get another job.
I mean, with enough experience.
Captain Morgan. You tell me Captain Morgan is not fit yet? At least get a coordinator job. He hasn't even got a coordinator job, and he's one of the best arena players that was around at one point.
It's if he wants to do it. That's the big thing too. Does he want to be a coach? Then someone's got to give him that opportunity. Does he? Then yes, someone go.
He said he interviewed one time for 5 different jobs and got overlooked each time. How is that possible when you a Hall of Famer, all-time arena leading receiver?
God, watching him play in Tulsa seems like so long ago. That guy was so good.
Right, and
it got to be our coaches too. Some of these coaches keep hiring their homeboys. Hire some new blood. Try something new, man.
Well, again, what you know and the schemes and everything like that, and that's what goes along with it. So I understand where some of those coaches come from, but I also understand where you're coming from. You've got to give people fair shakes.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is, with Rod Miller too. A lot of people look at Rod Miller and his time in Bismarck. He went to the playoffs. He took him to the playoffs in Bismarck, right? He came over to Massachusetts. He went 10-9, right? He won 2 playoffs games. He won a conference championship. So I think he's a successful head coach.
Didn't he win NFL China? I mean, AFL China as well too.
I believe he got the championship in that league. Yeah. So
yeah. So. Coach Miller is a hell of a coach, but I do think we need to think outside the box. He's been coaching for years too. We need something different.
What is your definition of a retread though? Like how long does a guy have to be a coach to be a retread?
Like all the older coaches they keep hiring. All these old coaches from when we were kids, they're still getting jobs.
Like Mike Davis?
No,
I'm kidding.
I played for Coach Davis. He's a younger guy.
No, I'm just messing around. I'm
just saying, like, Tom Minaj can get a job anywhere. He's been doing it for years.
Yeah.
Like, but they'll call him before they call an up and coming coach. You know what I'm saying? It's just like other coaches. It's so many factors to it. You can have a losing season as an older coach, and they still what you did 10 years ago. They'd be like, "Oh, he won a championship, so we're gonna bring him in. He know what he's doing." But the last 3 years, he done had losing seasons, and they still would go with that.
Let me ask you this, because you've brought up the fraternity of coaches or whatever, like the small circle. Do you think there are any NAL coaches that can break through if the IFL wants to hire him? For instance, I'll use it as an example. I'm not saying he's going to. I'm not saying he even wants to. Could you see a situation where like Coach Negron leaves Omaha because he gets a head coaching job in the IFL?
No, I think he loves Omaha too much to leave.
Right.
And he fits the NAL style better. It's another thing. The IFL and the NFL, NAL are two different styles.
Right.
Everybody can coach in both styles. So it comes to coaching too. Like what fits your style better, IFL or the NAL?
I thought the NAL and IFL play by the same rules, indoor rules.
They're really similar rules, but the question
NAL is more got similar to AFL style rules.
But coach, this is where I'm going to get you with my gotcha question. If you're going to sit there and say that the NAL and the IFL have two kind of different rule sets and stuff like that, and Negron doesn't want to leave Omaha as the example.
I ain't saying he don't want to. I said I think he loves it there, that he wouldn't leave even if he got an offer in the IFL because he loves that spot.
Here's my gotcha. Can you blame the IFL for having the fraternity of retreads if there's no one in the NAL that wants to go?
That's true.
If they're different rule sets and stuff like that. Again, it's not like a I win, you lose argument. It's like you can see the point that you're trying to make, because I see the point you're trying to make. I do. But it's also like you can also see where, hey, this is the reason why they have this like fraternity of retread coaches and players, going from I'm going to be a player to a coach.
Do I think James Terry can make it in the IFL? Yes. He's an IFL Hall of Famer. That's all he really knows, and he's coaching in the NAL.
Krish, who was it that got it was Matt Elam, wasn't it? Who was hired at Fishers, and then now he's playing again, and then they hired Nerian Washington, didn't they?
Yeah, no, Keontae.
Keontae.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah, Worthington.
So yeah, I mean, some players get.
I do think though, honestly, for Matt, and I would tell him this too. I would tell him like after he retires, he should go to Vegas again and be an assistant coach under Coach Davis for like 2 to 3 years. I think Matt Elam, if he like locks in, Matt Elam in like 5 to 10 years, I think can be a legit head coach in this league. I really do. I think Matt Elam's a great leader in that. But that's my thing. Like that would be so cool to see him coach a team. So just young guys opportunities like that.
It's a lot of younger coaches that probably would do good. So just honestly, they gotta promote themselves better too.
I'm asking this coach B, what makes you so sold on your boy Kaiser down in Tucson?
I like Kaiser. Kaiser's a good head coach. It ain't about being sold on Kaiser. Kaiser know what he's doing. The way he game plans, the way he prepares, the way he has that team ready. In Omaha, you couldn't find a team. I would put his team up against some IFL teams when he was in Omaha. So Kaiser, if he's getting the right situation, he can have the right thing. I know it's his first year coaching down there in Tucson, so he's trying to fill out the ownership. He can't do it how he probably want to, but give Kaiser probably 2 more years there, and it'll probably be a different program than what you see this year. I guarantee that.
One of the names I do want to bring up too, because we haven't mentioned it yet, and I know he wants to get into coaching because he was doing it when he tore his ACL, is Nate Davis.
Really?
I think so. From what I remember, he said he wanted to get into coaching after he was done playing, and I remember he was the de facto offensive coordinator for Duke City when he tore his ACL, and he was helping Ramon Atkins when he took over, and pretty much was like Nate Davis calls his own plays. Like they might have an offensive coordinator in name at San Diego, but it's Nate Davis calling the plays in the huddle. He's the one audibling. He's the Peyton Manning.
That's crazy. You just
I believe it.
On blast.
It's the truth.
I'm not trying to sit there and put anyone on blast. That's what I've heard through the broadcasts. That's what I've heard through all of that stuff. He's calling his own plays. So it wouldn't surprise me if
it's true, Chris.
It wouldn't surprise me if he wants to be a coach after he hangs up the cleats and again goes kind of that Matt Elam route or Northington route or whatever. I could see him being a very good offense coordinator, potentially head coach.
Chris, if you a smart quarterback like Davis, some of those veteran quarterbacks, you really don't need an OC. It's there to help you, but you can call the offense. Like you, if you know the game for real, you've been playing it for at a high level for so long. You
And
see,
think
we did
about
it
it.
with Cato. Cato
And
called the offense in KC.
think about it this way too. Jonathan Bain was a quarterback, and he's the head coach of the San Antonio Gunslingers. You're telling me that Nate Davis can't do that? I'm not trying to sit there and say that Davis is better than Bain or Bain's better than Davis, but at the same time, like if Jonathan Bain can prove his salt, I think Nate Davis has a great argument to be in the coaching ranks. I do.
Yep.
If Jonathan Bain make the playoffs in San Antonio, and I know they're spending money at certain positions, and that's just a fact. Even if they make the playoffs, for me, like that would be a big success.
That's a compliment.
That's a
Accomplishment.
First year to go to
that's
the
an
playoffs
accomplishment.
in the West. Yeah.
Well, it's also they went through because they had Rod Miller as their defensive coordinator, and now they signed is it Michael or Malcolm Goins?
Malcolm Goins.
So it's like to pretty much have another defensive coordinator after you've revamped the defense and the offense and the entire coaching staff from last year, from Manos getting let go to Fullard, and now you're going with Bain, and the roster or the coaching turnover to what they have now. If they can make the playoffs, it's a huge success.
Oh, and I want to add one more thing, Cody, and I really like this convo is that Malcolm Goins is a first-year play caller. Jonathan Bain is a first-year play caller. If they mess around and go to the playoffs, oh man.
But Bain took a chance on Young with with Williams as the D-line coach. He took his staff is young. He believed in guys he played with or played against, and he's trying to get him a shot.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes. Because like I said, I'm excited. Tucson and San Antonio, to me, and to a lesser extent, Northern Arizona, those are all wild cards. I think there's 3 spots lined up in the West that are already spoken for. New Mexico can struggle. I think they can win some games, but I think those other 3 teams that they have a chance to get that 4th playoff spot. It'll be very interesting to see.
I have one more question for you guys.
Go for it.
So Coach Davis, from our guy, and I looked this up a couple weeks ago. I meant to say it. Coach Davis all time is 79 and 75 in this league. He won a championship. If he wins 80 games, does he automatically qualify? So if he wins week 1, is he a Hall of Famer in your eyes? Is he a Hall of Fame coach in the NFL?
Coach Davis?
Yes.
He's a Hall of Famer regardless right now. That's not to stroke his ego or anything, but to take the Nebraska Danger to 3 straight title games, yeah, he didn't win them. To take Vegas to a championship, to do everything that he's done to build a team from scratch from Vegas to turn them to what they are. Again,
before the Danger, the teams that he had before the Danger, what he did with those teams.
Yeah, I mean the dude's a Hall of Famer already. If he retired today, he'd be in.
Especially if 40 games with 2 different programs is so impressive. Like how many coaches?
I can't say it's no other coach who sent more players up to higher levels than him.
Sure.
So that speaks for itself too.
Dude coached in the CFL too. I mean that's not to that doesn't get him in the Hall of Fame, but again, it shows you the pedigree that he has. So, congrats to Krish on stroking Coach Davis's ego today. He'll probably be riding that high for a few hours. But
I got to give him credit where credit's due, man. 80 wins. I will say that's a big deal. I mean, to win 80,
he got a better track record than y'all in this league right now.
Look at this relationship where Coach Davis just talks S on Krish the entire time, and Krish is like, "Yeah, you're a really good coach."
I mean, 80 wins in this league, man. I gotta say, like that's a big deal, and to do it week 1 against the team you just beat in the championship, that would feel extra good in my opinion. But I see this coming from Coach LeGrand, Thump City. I'm gonna be there week 1, Coach. So I hope you're ready. But I mean, Coach is doubling down. You hear what he said on the recent podcast? He said we're gonna thump everyone, and I'm gonna win the championship. So that's big word.
Coach B, you got my support, man. Go ahead and do your thing, Coach LeGrand.
I'm expecting 9-1 or 10-0. That's what I'm expecting. So, that's all I really have today. I really enjoyed the show. I'm excited. We got training camp kicking off. Pueblo just kicked off. Omaha reports tomorrow. We report in, I believe let's see what day is it. We report in about 8 days to training camp. So we got the March 1st date, and then we got a bye week the first week of the season. So it'll be good. And then let's see, Odessa, you guys start a little bit later. Quad City starts soon.
Yeah, we start camp April 7th.
Quad City starts February 28th.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's this week.
The four teams: Fishers, Quad City, Green Bay, and Vegas all start training camp 2 weeks before the season starts on the 14th.
So you start early. Vegas is starting soon. They start next week, Tuesday, I believe. So it's exciting, man. I feel like this is the best time of year. Next week we'll have a game to talk about with Pueblo taking on Northern Colorado. So it's the Christmas time of year for me. I think this is going to be a really good season. It's a sprint. It's a sprint, not a marathon. So, in my opinion, but you guys have anything else or anything you want to wrap up with?
Shout out to Odessa High School, man. Odessa Coats, Permian in the West Texas area, man. Y'all tune into Odessa Drillers this year. It's gonna be fun, and to the Midland Frack Attack. We're gonna put on a good show as independents and show y'all how the standard of the AIF supposed to be.
What's Chris picks? What do you need for what? For the season? Or I can send you all those.
He's got Dallas, Louisiana in the championship.
Oh, I would leave the country if that happened. Like, that would be bad.
Why would you be mad, bro?
No.
They overcame adversity. That's a good thing, don't you think?
No comment.
He's got Oceanside, Minnesota in AF1.
But
that's it. We see y'all next week, man. I guess.
Oh, you got anything, Cody? Any?
I'm just gonna plug my stuff really quick.
Yeah,
I got in the alley. Every year I do this. This will be my third year doing it. Team by team previews, looking at the rosters, looking at the schedule, key signings, key departures, team information, everything you need to know about the team that you might want to root for or the team you already root for. Starting tomorrow with Arizona, and every single night there will be a different team. So Arizona, Fishers, Iowa, Green Bay. It goes alphabetically, and that's how we do it. So if you want to check those out, it'll be on In the Alley and my YouTube channel. And I'll be promoting it on the forums and Twitter, Facebook, all of that stuff too. So check all that stuff out. It'll be a fun, it'll be a fun time. And you can hate every single one of my opinions and I'll hate you back. But I'm just kidding. That's how we go about it. And we'll wrap it all up with playoff predictions a day or two before the season starts. And you go right into the Indoor Football League season. So it'll be fun.
Shout out to AJ and them over at the AAL, man. I like what they doing and how they've been moving. So congrats on what y'all doing this year to come back as well.
I'm excited for AAL season. I think Columbus is going to run through everyone, but that's just my opinion. And then I'm going to tag you when I make my Minnesota picks. Best believe. But we'll see you guys next week. And make sure to like and subscribe.